we may have had some sort of a quick report or a brief indication on radar that maybe something was going on there. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, that area, when it came through Pampa, was also showing some signs of doing what we call cold air funnels, and we actually had a picture come in that showed that. So that may even be this as opposed to a complete tornado. Those condensation funnels will happen sometimes on boundaries, and so it's not necessarily a tornado attached to a thunderstorm, or it could be something on a little gust front. But the Weather Service at this moment, when they issued that warning, saying there was little ground circulation possible from what they were just getting reports of, and there was a little condensation funnel about 50% of the way to the ground. So what they're saying at this point is they did see a funnel come out of the leading edge of this right here. I don't see what we call a real big inflow notch at this point, indicating that we've got a real heavy amount of moisture streaming into this. But as we look at some of the parameters of the radar, what we've seen over the past couple of hours is a couple of things increasing that would support some tornadic activity. There's something called speed shear. That is something that we see where the increasing with height is an increase in the speed, and then directional shear. We get winds coming in from the southwest, low level, and then they sort of turn around and go more westerly as you get higher up. But you can kind of interpret that as maybe showing some rotation there. So again, this storm's going to continue to move on to the south and southeast. It's right along the Carson County, Gray County border. The potential rotation area is right in here. So again, right to the west of the highway on Interstate 70. LaFours, you have a severe thunderstorm warning for the potential for some rain and some hail, some strong gusty winds that will increase over the next couple of minutes. We're going to stay with this since it's a tornado warning for a couple of minutes. Okay, Gabe? LaFours, again, some heavy rain, some hail is possible in your area. Now, this is starting to develop with some new images coming in a little back further to the west, and we talked about this potential here a little earlier. These sort of fired on a boundary. Tornadoes and severe thunderstorms like to form on what we call boundaries, or areas where you see different parameters of the atmosphere on different sides. So there was this boundary right in here, and so that boundary is right along Highway 60 right now. So we see some new development just to the east of Panhandle and south of White Deer. And White Deer, by the way, you're in the clear on this. You weren't in the warning, but anywhere in White Deer, you're okay with a tornado warning. So we may yet see some new development along this boundary, and that would eventually obviously get closer to the airport and the eastern sides of Amarillo. So once again, moving to the southeast, we got a tornado warning in effect until 7:15 for this particular thunderstorm that is a few miles north of Groom. Rain, hail, going to pick up on Highway 70. Please don't travel southward out of Pampa. Don't travel northward from Highway 40 just to the east of Interstate 40, just to the east of Groom. New information coming in? You're just checking?
Your weather wall.
Okay. Okay, we're going to be streaming this as well. Are we on the stream?
Yep.
Okay, so streaming. Thank you. Streaming on all of our platforms, and that means YouTube and newschannel10.com Facebook page as well. So we'll stick with this on TV for at least a couple more minutes, but we may try and go to the stream in a little bit. So it's 6:50 right now. Officially, we've got another 20 minutes on this tornado warning, actually 25 minutes, and we'll continue again to watch it move to the south and southeast. We want to watch this further west part, just east of Panhandle as well. This southwestern portion of a line oftentimes will be a little more favorable area for some tornadic activity, because this part of the line is not necessarily competing for the available moisture that would help to destabilize the atmosphere and get that spin going. But again, right now I don't see a big inflow notch. I'm going to check on the reflectivity product and the Doppler radar. There's definitely some strong straight line winds in this, but again, right now, largely out over open country. In Groom, you want to be paying attention, but you're not officially in the warning yet. That's still a good 10 to 15 miles to the north of you. So anybody in those areas that you may know, especially north of Groom, I want to go ahead and give them a call, say, hey, we've got a tornado warning. If you're not watching, go ahead and punch that up and be ready. It's a good time to review, even though it's a less populated area, our tornado safety rules. First place you should be ready to go, if you have one, obviously, is a storm shelter. If not, you want to be on the first floor or the lowest floor of the building that you're in a small room toward the center of the house, like a bathroom, a hallway, a closet, with no windows in it and grab something to cover your head. Could be sofa cushions, could be pillows from the bed. Ideally, you find some sort of a helmet, like a bicycle helmet or a baseball helmet or something like that. And then again, that small room toward the center of the house. The idea in a tornadic situation is that you want to put as many walls between you and the outside as you possibly can. That way you would be more likely to be protected from debris. Then a small room has more structural integrity than a larger room, which we would see a better chance for toward the outside of the house, or a larger room having the ceiling come down or the roof come up, stuff like that. In fact, that's exactly what we saw in the Canyon tornado a couple of weeks later. One of the houses in particular that was heavily damaged had wind coming in, I think, underneath the porch, which was facing north, and that confined wind in that porch area created a little bit of upward force on the roof of the porch. And then that continued to create that upward force on the roof and the ceiling inside the house, on the back of the house, and it eventually did separate. There was a gap there that you could see outside, and then the ceiling tile, or the ceiling, all the drywall and the insulation and whatnot came down on the inside of the house. But the smaller rooms and the center of the house area did stay more secure, again, because of that structural integrity. All right, so we're continuing. I'm watching new radar pictures come in, and I don't see a strong circulation. I don't see necessarily a strong inflow notch. I'm going to check with our friends at the Weather Service and see what they have coming in on the chat. Nothing particularly new. There's some chatter amongst the partners. Let me just get a moment to read that. And that won't be relevant at this moment. Okay, so once again, recapping, severe thunderstorm warning until 7:15, and that is going to be right on the border now of Carson and Gray counties. Eventually, I think we might be able to eliminate Carson County from the warning. That may be trimmed, but that's still going to be several moments away. Let me pan out and just get an idea of the rest of the region. Heavier thunderstorms, but for the most part, not severe at this point, continue to move across the area. Here's one obviously you can see between Wheeler and Shamrock. Not severe, but it's in that same environment, so the possibility for it to strengthen a little bit is certainly there. So that one, that core of red, is going to move over Twitty in the next couple of minutes. And then just to the north of Layla and Shamrock, again, that yellow line there is Interstate 40. So that will be continuing to move eastward, not severe at this point. New thunderstorm right over Clarendon. That's right over 287. You can see the motion on that one is going to take it eastward, so eventually out into more open country north of Layla Lake. The bulk of that at this point should miss Headley, but if you're not getting some rain and some hail in Clarendon right now, some pea-sized hail is certainly possible with that one. Okay, moving a little further west, continuing to remind you about the tornado warning as people kind of join the coverage here for Carson and Gray counties, and that will be until 7:15. We've got a little thunder shower, not particularly heavy, and it looks like it may have already peaked just on the eastern rim of Paladuro Canyon and then eastward. But I don't think that one's a particular threat at this point. Of course, we'll continue to watch that. Now, later on tonight, you see all these counties in pink. That's the severe thunderstorm watch that is in effect until midnight tonight, and so that covers most of the region. When we walk through this line right here, the bulk of this section south of Clayton has obviously gone south of town. The bulk of it will stay south of Tex line, but in Sedan, New Mexico, Amistad, rain's going to pick up, especially in Sedan here, and maybe a little bit of small hail, not out of the question. But if you look further downstream, then that one, if it holds together, would move toward Dalhart, but that's easily 30 to 40 minutes away. Moving further south along the line into New Mexico, rain's going to pick up, I would say, in Logan here in the next couple of minutes. Well, let's say 10 to 15 minutes at the outside. Heavy, heavy rain in and around Tucumcari. But you note the number of storms here. This is less conducive to tornadic activity, but it is definitely conducive to a little bit of small hail, some very chaotic, strong, gusty winds, and some heavy rain with the relatively slow movement of that activity. So some brief ponding of water on roadways or a little bit of brief flash flooding is not out of the question. Looking further south there, we got some heavy rain obviously over Grady. And in San Juan, I think the bulk of that will move just to your south, but it is obviously still there and obviously getting closer to the Texas-New Mexico border. So we expect that line of thunderstorms to sort of increase in coverage and potentially intensity as we go on through the next couple of hours. So back to our tornado-warned storm. Again, still showing not a strong sign of rotation. A picture just coming in on a chat, and I can see a funnel that is lowered out of the base of the thunderstorm. It does not appear to be in contact with the ground at this moment, but it is certainly close enough. And I'm going to do some kind of on-the-fly look at that. I don't see any kind of a debris cloud with that right now, but it is definitely a funnel that is hanging down out of the base of that thunderstorm, and that's why our friends at the Weather Service issued that tornado warning for that storm. There may have been a little bit of contact with the ground there, and since it's close, again, they're going to stick with it and sort of leave that thing, that tornado warning in place. Again, as far as placement, let me drill down a little bit further. The area that we're most concerned with, and it is building a little bit more southward now, so we've talked about Groom. You've still got some time here. It's still maybe between 5 and 10 miles to your north, but see how it is sort of developing this way and also moving a little bit this way. So there's going to be a gust front or a shelf cloud. That's that long, low hanging cloud that usually comes before a thunderstorm. There could be some strong gusty winds there, so that's going to extend right over the Highway 70 area and continue to kind of move on to the south. And then it's obviously going to get close to, let me put this a little bit further to the north, it's going to get a little bit closer to Interstate 40. In fact, what I might just do is get some measurements here and hold this position for just a second. Okay, had to do a little resetting there on the computer. Let me get the little measuring tool out and pause this. Here's Groom. Okay, we're now about 5 to 6 miles north of town. It is moving southward, looks like maybe 15 to 20 miles per hour. So, not an immediate threat to Groom. You are not included in the tornado warning at this point, but just know that that storm is approaching from the north and moving south toward Interstate 40. If perhaps you would know somebody who might be traveling that way, eastward out of Amarillo, westward from the Oklahoma border, might want to ask them to go ahead and pause if you can get in touch with them, or if anybody was heading out. Also, the same story on Highway 70 to the east of Groom, so we continue that southeastward movement on that storm. So once again, we'll just stay with it. Again, we're streaming officially until 7:15 at this point. We're coming up on 7 o'clock, and I'll let Master Control know. I think because of the proximity of this storm to Groom and Interstate 40, we're going to go ahead and stay with the coverage for at least a couple of more minutes. New update from the Weather Service. They're going to continue that warning until at least 7:15. And in addition to the tornadic possibility, we've got the potential for 1 3/4 inch hail. So that's going to be better than quarter-size hail. Maybe even, well, probably not up to, well, let's say some golf ball size hail is certainly in the possibility of this, and that would be again along Highway 70 and then westward. So it is showing still some signs of good inflow, meaning the moisture available for the storm that will feed the storm is rushing in from the southeast. We see that see at the end of the loop here, how the colors are so tightly packed. That means air is rushing in and then it's rising up and feeding this thunderstorm. And when you see those tightly packed colors, it means it is not necessarily weakening. What we might watch for, hopefully, is for the lighter and the darker green colors to maybe get out ahead, suggesting maybe the gust front is taking over, and then the storm has not as much warm air, but has to try and feed on colder air and might weaken a little bit. I'm not seeing that right now, but I am certainly hoping for that. So not a strong rotation, but again, we're now about 5 miles north of Groom. I'm going to come in and do a little bit more analysis on the Doppler velocity product. It is not real well defined as far as circulation. We do see some inbounds and some outbounds and some things that we kind of look at technically, something called side lobe contamination, which is something that the radar does to, well, something the atmosphere does to confuse the radar and us. So that's another reason why, out of an abundance of caution, I think the Weather Service would probably want to go ahead and stay with this warning for at least a couple of minutes. Now, they may have to make a decision or two here before that, and I'll check the chat in just a second, but again, we've got this sort of southwestward or southerly motion, so the edge of that rotation, the potential rotation, is really right on the edge of the tornado warning polygon, which means prior to 7:15, they'll have to make a decision if they want to extend that a little bit further to the south and perhaps include Groom. Again, White Deer, you're in the clear. That started there just to your southeast, but no tornadic activity toward you. Same story for Panhandle. The developing line has gone to your south and southeast, so there's no threat from tornadic activity or really any strong thunderstorm activity for you at this current moment. So I think a new image has come in. Okay, we'd be a little concerned by that little notch, we call that a pendant right there. So it is still continuing to try and rotate and possibly create some tornadic activity. But if it gets deeper and then if it starts to wrap around, then we would notice that. And then again, they'll think they'll probably extend that warning. So don't travel south of Pampa. Anybody in and around Interstate 40, east of Groom, you don't want to travel northward. In Groom, I do think you're going to get some of this, and it's probably now closer to 4 to 5 miles north of town. You might be able to go out and take a look at it if you want, see it approaching, but the other point is there's potential for greater than 1-inch hail for this. So in Groom, if you want to go ahead and put the car in the garage, bring in anything that might blow around. You've got a minute or two, I think, to do that before the storm does approach. So it continues to move on to the south. That rotation area is probably out of the warning polygon. Let's check with our friends at the Weather Service. We're getting a report, a good solid report of golf ball size hail. So we talked about that, up to 1.75. And then they say a new severe thunderstorm warning is going to be issued for that storm, 60-mile-an-hour winds and golf ball size hail, in that the storm is going south. So that does not seem to be an indication that they're going to extend the tornado warning, but you might have noticed that the orange box to the north of the red one, that was the previous severe thunderstorm warning, that was canceled a moment early. So we may see a new orange box covering Groom and Interstate 40 here in just the next couple of minutes, and it is still showing enough sign of a little bit of a notch and some broad rotation that I think they'll keep the tornado warning going for the next couple of minutes. In fact, while I'm standing here, let me go ahead and stop the animation. We'll drill down a little closer and do another measurement to let the folks in Groom know what is going on. So again, that rotation area, let me kind of draw in some things for you. Potential rotation is going to be right in here. See that notch? That's the inflow right in here. And then the reflectivity of the heavy rain is wrapping around that. And so the potential tornado would be right about in here. And if I clear that off, we'll do another measurement and actually do a storm track as well. But here's a measurement from the center of the storm to Groom. So now we're about 4 miles, probably even closer to 3 now as the storm is obviously moving, 3 to 4 miles north of Groom. So you're not in a tornado warning in Groom, but you want to be prepared to put your plan of action in place as that continues to move on in. Do a little bit of a fan here, but that's the only city. Oh, there's the new orange box indicating the severe thunderstorm warning. And so, yeah, let's take that off. That's a little bit, that time, don't disregard that time. It's not going to be 7:40. So here, let me expand the view out a little bit. And we've got the new severe thunderstorm warning. So that is an interesting choice from the Weather Service indicating, okay, anywhere in this orange fan from just west of Groom, eastward along 40, not all the way to Allen Reed, is new severe thunderstorm warning, which means 60-mile-an-hour wind gust potential, and then some at least 1-inch hail. But again, the tornado warning has not been extended further south. In fact, what I'm going to do is check in with the Weather Service, because I can communicate with them on the chat and ask about the potential of extending that tornado warning. Okay, I'm not one that can type and talk at the same time, so I apologize for the moment of silence there. But we're checking with them. We'll see what they're going to do with the tornado warning in just a minute. There's still a pretty good notch on that thing, so they may try and extend it a little bit further. But that's the area right now. So now we know we're about 3 miles north of Groom. We get a new radar update generally in a less severe situation every 6 minutes, but they're probably, and I haven't checked yet, but they're probably in faster scan mode, which would allow a new image about every 2 to 3 minutes or so. So this is the latest one, but keep in mind it is moving, and so we'll get a new image, and that's going to be closer to Groom. So another review, anybody just checking in with us now in Groom, you want to put your tornado plan into action, have it ready right now, because it's coming from the north, developing from the north, and it's just a couple miles north of town. Tornado shelter, if you have one, you're not under a warning, but be prepared to go pretty quickly. Small room toward the center of the house, like a bathroom, a hallway, a closet, center of the house. Bring something to cover up your head, couch cushions, something like that, pillows, baseball helmets, bicycle helmets, or great. Have those things ready, and don't necessarily, especially if you're north of Groom right now, wait for me to tell you there's a new tornado warning. If you feel threatened, go ahead and go to that place. I'd love for you to leave the TV on or your streaming platform on loud enough that you can hear us, but also not so loud that you can't hear what's going on outside. There's going to be some thunder and lightning there, but if there in fact is a tornado on the ground, that'll create a roar, and that is your indication to go ahead and please go ahead into that safe spot. So once again, this is moving to the south. Let me check with our friends at the Weather Service. No comment yet on the status of the tornado polygon. Another comment about some extremely heavy rain in Clarendon coming down right now. Let me go ahead and check on that. That's this storm putting down a very, very heavy amount of rain. We'll go ahead and loop that. And I think that's probably sitting stationary for the moment. Yeah. So in and around Clarendon, you've got some heavy rain. Probably a little bit of hail, small pea-sized hail certainly possible there, but there's enough rain that some flooding could be a problem, some brief runoff could be a problem. So please don't travel in and around Clarendon. Let's give that at least 20 to 30 minutes because runoff will extend beyond that. And then that storm looks like it's wanting to develop eastward, staying largely north of Layla Lake and certainly north of Headley. And that will continue to move eastward toward the Highway 273 corridor and get off of 287. But you don't want to travel in between Headley or Memphis and Goodnight, or travel southeastward out of Claude, northwestward out of Memphis, with obviously that storm in the area. Okay, looks like a new tornado warning is going to pop up here any minute, still with the potential of golf ball size hail. And I think what we'll see is this new warning. Oh, there it is. That includes Groom. Okay, so that's the new warning. And that one is going to be in effect until, give me a second to catch up here. So Groom, you are now included in the tornado warning, as we figured might be possible. And I will get the stats on that warning. There it is, tornado warning, and that one will now go until 7:45. It includes portions of Armstrong County, Carson County, Donnelly County, and Gray County, and that again is until 7:45 tonight. So it's really at the juncture of those 4 counties, not all of the counties, but in and around either side of Groom. And now that thing's showing a really pretty good pendant echo right there. Let me go ahead and stop that. And this is the pendant that we're talking about right here. And then we've got the inflow, the moist, warm, humid inflow going in there, and that helps to create that rotation. We've seen increasing what we call directional and speed shear, changes in wind with height. So all of those things continue to come together, and I'd say that's probably now close to 2 miles north of the center of Groom right there. Yep, there we are. So 2 miles. So once again, in Groom, if you are there and you think your friends are not paying attention, you need to call them up, get the phone tree going right now. If you know somebody in Groom who might be not paying attention, you want to get them on the horn and say, look, there's a tornado warning a mile or 2 north of town, and it is heading to the south. For those folks there, as you quickly make your preparations, go ahead, if you've gone home and kicked off your shoes, go ahead and I'd love for you to put on some sturdy shoes. The reason for that being is we've seen a lot of damage over the years where if people come out from a damaged home, there's going to be broken glass, there's going to be splintered wood, there may be some nails around, and you don't want to be in your bare feet and you don't want to be in your flip-flops. So something like that, putting on some strong shoes would be a great idea. Maybe even grab a light jacket. Oftentimes, even though it's been a fairly warm and somewhat humid day, the atmosphere will cool down pretty quickly, and that would be kind of chilly for you. Also, if you need your glasses with you, or reading glasses, go ahead and put those in your pocket. And if you're somebody who wants to keep your meds close to you, grab your medicines and put those somewhere close by where you can keep track of those as well. So small room toward the center of the house, like a bathroom, hallway, closet, no windows in it. Bring along something to cover up your head, and go ahead and go in and around Groom, because that tornado warning, or that potential tornado is knocking on your door right now. Checking with the Weather Service again, no current information on anything actually on the ground, but we continue to watch this obviously very closely. I'll let it loop a few times, do some analysis. Let me step back out. One potentially good sign is that I think the hail core in this, and that is this purple, see how it drops out in the last frame or two? I think there was a lot of hail in there aloft, and now it's probably come down. It's getting out of the radar beam. So just north of Interstate 40, it looks like the bulk of the hail may have now fallen out of this storm. But now we're within a mile or so of the rotation center being right there. But this is a signal that it might hopefully be weakening. And we may have some chasers getting close to this now, especially since it's on Interstate 40 in and around Groom. So we may be getting some chaser reports that will come to the Weather Service, and then those will come back to us. And again, we can keep you posted. But there is clearly a notch on this. There is clearly some rotation in this thunderstorm, and that continues to move on to the south and go across the highway here in the next really couple of minutes. So people may be slowing down to watch that. We may get some pictures coming in of that as well as it moves over the highway. This is obviously where the Groom Cross is, and so that's going to be under the gun for this as well. But we've got a definite tornado situation, and the warning is going to continue for a little while longer. It says 7:15, but it's picking up on this other box, so that one will expire here in a minute or two, and we'll see that change over to 7:45. So once again in Groom, it's looking pretty good with regard to organization, but I'm checking on the velocity product now as we watch it come into town. I just don't see a strong rotation above the ground and higher in the thunderstorm in what we call the mesocyclone that would indicate that this is a strong rotation and or a strong tornado. But even a small one can do 80-mile-an-hour plus winds that could toss some things about. And we're also to the point in Groom where I would love for you not to be outside trying to look at this, because things can change pretty quickly. It can throw some hail out pretty far from the actual thunderstorm. And so there's a new picture coming in. This will be interesting to watch too. I'm going to get in and explain a little bit about what I'm seeing in just a second. We're just kind of going back and forth between sources here. New advisory from the Weather Service. Groom should be taking cover, as we've saying, seeing some possible tightening of the rotation as what's called the gate-to-gate shear, or gate-to-gate track on toward Groom. So the Weather Service is now emphasizing that this thing in Groom is on your doorstep. And you may have noticed that northernmost red box or polygon has disappeared, and so the new one has taken over as far as on the computer here. And so again, this warning will be in effect until 7:45. Beyond Groom, it's pretty wide open, and there's a good amount of real estate before you get to Goodnight or 287. Goodnight, would it develop further west toward you? It's not likely. It's not out of the question. Claude, you're okay. Howard Wick, yeah, we want to pay attention, but that's still a good, easily 20 to 30 minutes away. And then still with some hail potential, I think we're a mile, less than 2 miles certainly, but a mile from the hail core, very broad hail core, getting to the Interstate 40 corridor west of Allen Reed, and then from Groom eastward. So there's going to be a brief, very strong gust of wind with this as well. That's not good on the highway because not everybody is obviously prepared for this, but I'm sure they can see it coming. But this kind of crosswind, it would be a very strong north wind. This kind of crosswind is going to be really, really difficult for the truckers. And just for future reference, anybody watching at home, when you see that kind of a thing approaching, you want to stay away from the trucks on the highway because especially a crosswind, the highway is, in this case, is east to west, but a north wind or a south wind could easily catch one of those trucks, and you don't want to be anywhere next to that, certainly, and you don't want to be close behind it. So any future traveling, keep in mind, stay away from those trucks whenever you see some strong thunderstorms that are continuing to move through the area. So this is about over Groom right now. Any last-minute preparations should have already been made, and we'll just watch it kind of go through. We'll do a little tour here elsewhere and get a check on any of the other thunderstorms. Any information coming in? Nope, just okay. Just got some of the team here helping me. I'm checking with them. So Groom, thunderstorm, possible tornado right over you right now. The warning will continue at this point until 7:45, but it will be past Groom by then. This thunderstorm in between Twitty and Shamrock is coming across Highway 83. It is not severe, but a little bit of pea-sized hail not out of the question in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Good news for Clarendon. If you're in town or on the east side or southeast side of town, yeah, there's some heavy rain still, but that should end here, I would think, within the next 5 to 10 minutes if it hasn't already. Layla Lake area, yeah, you're going to get some rain, especially the north side. If you're not getting it now, that'll last 5 to 10 to 15 minutes at the outside. Headley, you should not be affected by this storm. Broadening the view a little bit down 287. Memphis, you're not officially included in the watch. Those are the counties covered in pink, and that will be again until midnight, but you're not officially included. But some storm activity is still possible for the rest of the night tonight, and that same advisory would go through 287 southward to Childress. Okay, let me check on some of the other storms. This is a good sign here, that little storm that tried to develop on the eastern rim of Paladuro Canyon. You see we kind of had briefly some orange and red in there, and that has obviously weakened. So that's good news there in that maybe it's hitting a little bit more stable atmosphere for the time being and having some trouble strengthening. In Amarillo proper, we're okay for right now. There's still some boundaries around that we want to keep an eye on. There's a new little cell trying to develop in Vega. That's right on the highway. That's nothing but a little bit of light rain right now, but we'll watch the trend on that. And then speaking of trends, new thunderstorms developing across the Texas-New Mexico border right now. This is going to be a little bit more similar to last night in that it is less of a tornado threat, but some brief small to dime to nickel penny-sized hail is possible. These won't move fairly quickly, and they'll put down some very, very heavy rains. So along and south of 40, Interstate 40, from San Juan southward to Grady, west of Sims, west of Bootleg, across a good portion of Deaf Smith County where it's very flat. Some heavy, heavy rain may create some runoff problems. Further to the north, we're kind of filling in what we had talked about during the newscast of this line. We're kind of going from what we call a more cellular pattern, individual cells, to a linear pattern. And so this line of thunderstorms, again, tends not to be tornadic. Sometimes you can get some brief rotations on the beginning of the line when it spins up, but that is good news with regard to the tornado threat, but there'll be some gusty winds and again some hail threat. So that's still a good, probably 30 to 40 minutes away from Dalhart, 45 to 50 minutes away from Channing, and easily 30 to 40 minutes away from Vega. And we've got this thunderstorm warning. Now that's mountain time, 6:45 for Curry and Quay County. That's the orange box, again, from Grady eastward. We'll see if those continue to strengthen and they choose to warn for Sims or Bootleg. So back on our tornado warned storm. It is right over Groom right now. Here's a good sign. Okay, let's do this, and I'm going to pause it. Real good sign for Groom. It looks like the inflow notch and the potential rotation, and I'm kind of watching this too on the Doppler velocity product. Don't see a real strong rotation aloft, but the good news that I mentioned is the tight rotation and the inflow notch that we saw right here on the north side of town has shifted a little bit. This is still going to be some strong gusty winds, some rain, a little bit of hail, but something of a new notch may be trying to develop here. So I'm not saying the potential tornado has dissipated, but what it might be doing is cycling the thunderstorm, changing a little bit and finding a new strong updraft, which is good news for Groom because that's going to be 3-4 miles to the east of town. It is still moving southeastward and would be a threat to the Interstate 40 corridor, but west of Allen Reed and east of Groom now looks like maybe is a little bit stronger likelihood of a threat there. New updraft developing southeast of Panhandle. You're okay. This is probably a little outflow boundary right here that will come toward Conway, so I wouldn't be surprised to see this part of the line develop a little further westward toward Conway and just north of town and then move to the southeast. So no immediate threat for Conway, but let's continue to pay attention and know that that storm may develop a little bit further in your area. So once again, that inflow notch, good news, has developed a little bit further east of Groom. Let me continue to do a little analysis and close in on that and give you a better idea. We'll do some distance checking as well. So what I'm referring to, I'll just use the drawing tool here. We did have inflow right here. Now we've got more of that inflow right here. And so the rotation, if it is changing within the thunderstorm, is going to be just a little bit further to the east of town. Now let's go ahead and measure that right here. There's town. And now we're about 2 to 3, let's say 3 miles east of town, 4 miles east of town. Again, great for Groom, not necessarily great for Interstate 40. Hopefully people who are driving will see the dark cloud approaching and either pull off. There's a new image coming in. Pull off the road somewhere and wait for this to pass. Another highway tip. Sorry, go ahead.
We have a stream from Dave.
Oh, Dave's out. Okay. Yeah, let's punch him up. Doppler Dave is out. Is he on 40? He looks like he might be on. Me in front of that camera, if you can. Yeah. Well, I want to stand in front of his picture if we can. If we can't, that's okay as well. But yeah, we've clearly lost the funnel there, which is good. Is he feeding on live view? We have audio from him? Is he feeding on live view? Well, what he's showing us is really good in that we don't see this lowering or this funnel right now. He may... Don't have audio? We do. Let's go ahead and put him on if we can try. Dave, if you can hear us.
Hey, Kevin, do you hear me?
Go ahead and give us a report. If not, I'm going to continue.
Yes, I'm hearing you. Yes, Kevin, I'm on I-40. I'm west of Groom, so I'm not quite right into that core that you're looking at, but just from a distance, I'm not seeing anything on the ground. Definitely some lowerings, like you mentioned. I think really our target area is out of the middle of the screen that I have right now. I see kind of a vaulted appearance in there. That, I think, is what we have on the east side of Groom. So I'm getting in there as quickly as I can. Definitely a severe storm. Tracking new updraft going up that's pretty strong. So I'm going to be right in there probably give you 10 minutes. I'm really going to have a nice shot for Yes, I got you, Kevin.
Checking again, Dave. We're working through some problems, but can you confirm if you can hear me?
Yes, I do have you, Kevin. And just to confirm, I've got a lowered area just right there on the right side. Again, I'm a little far out for a real good, clean picture in that couple area, but I'm getting there quickly. It'll be closer and closer. Right now, I can't see anything on the ground. I do have, looks like a wall cloud out there. You mentioned it being just east of Groom on I-40. That's my target area, so I'll be coming in there pretty quickly. It definitely looks like a formidable storm, and we're going to hopefully get right in there to that inflow area, see if we got a circulation or a lowering. I just can't see anything from here yet.
10-4, Dave, thanks for that. Based on radar right now, what I feel like I'm seeing is maybe we're getting a little bit of a gust front and outflow ahead of this, which is going to disrupt that rotation. The main rotation over Groom appears to have weakened a little bit and then tried to reform maybe 2 miles east of town. You can confirm that better from where you are, but I hope the good news is, and especially based on the Doppler radar velocity product, I'm not seeing a very deep rotation, but more of a gust front situation right now. Do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, I need just a little while to get right there in position, but that could be happening. I see some lowered areas out on the inflow side. I can't really confirm if that's gust front related yet, or scud going up on the inflow, or if we have a meso in there. But I'm getting closer, and it's getting clearer. I am seeing some real whitish streaks in there. What's your hail potential looking like, Kevin?
Yeah, and I'm just looking at a report from the Weather Service. They're trimming the tornado warning a little bit, so that would come closer to Groom, but they're also commenting that they're going to reduce the hail size a little bit, which is good news as this comes across the highway. So I think maybe our suspicion might be right in that we're getting a little bit of a gust front on this out ahead of the main storm, which will help weaken it, which is obviously helpful. But still some heavy rain and some hail about to come across the highway.
Okay, well, I'm getting a little clearer picture now. If you look at the center of my screen there, Kevin, that's the area of interest right there. So I'm getting a real defined base now. You see some lower areas, appendages, if you will. But I'm still about 10 miles further west than I need to really get a good shot. So, like I say, we'll know more and more as the minutes go by and I get a little closer.
Okay, Dave, thanks very much. I'm going to go back in front of the wall for a minute, and we'll get an update from that perspective, and then come. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's turn that off for a second. Okay. Good news for Groom, because I do think that the rotation area sort of jumped. You can see it right there, and then it dissipated, and now we've still got this little pendant right here, but that's now really to the south, just to the south side of the highway. Dave's coming in from this direction, from the west, and heading eastward. So the impact to Interstate 40 will be fairly large here, if not already, in the next 5 minutes or less, and then last for probably a good 20 minutes of extremely heavy rain and some hail. We talked a minute ago about this purple area sort of weakening a little bit. That looks like maybe a new updraft has formed, and so some new hail may be getting ready to come down right across the highway, again, just to the east of Groom. Here's a new pendant, so that indicates maybe we've got some inflow right there, and so a new rotation may be trying to develop. Again, good news for Groom. Any farms, buildings, highways along the highway, just south side of the highway, please go ahead and stay in your safe place right here, because that's right over the top of you, but should move further south of the highway within the next couple of minutes. So once again, officially, for another 15 minutes or so, we've got a tornado warning for portions of Armstrong, Carson, Donnelly, and Gray counties. But the rotation signature now is right over Interstate 40 rather, just to the east of Groom, and continuing to develop to the south and southeast. Let's go back and see what Dave's picture looks like if we can, guys. Thank you for that. And we'll see if we can get an idea of any lowering there. I do again see that we are getting more of a gust front look, but there is that new. And there's Dave's picture. And so I think based on his area of travel, he's verifying what we saw on the radar. That suggests that the bulk of this has now moved south of 40, which is good for the leading edge of this, but that means some hail is coming as well. So let's see if we can get back in touch with Dave. Dave, Kevin checking in again. Can you give us an update?
Yeah, that's right, Kevin. I'm still west of Groom, but getting closer by the minute. There's the area of interest. That's definitely the core, the interface. You see the lowered area. I think we could, define that as a wall cloud. I'm not seeing rapid rotation in there. But I'm sure getting a better picture of it. And you're right, it's just south of I-40 and east of Groom. So I'm continuing to punch on in there. Every minute I get closer, I get a better look at this. So right now I can confirm that I don't see anything sticking down the ground. I do think I might be picking up kind of a slow rotation. So it's definitely worth watching, and there's a good reason we have a tornado warning on it. Back further to the north there, getting close to I-40, it looks like very heavy rain, and that's probably our hail area right here. So as I get closer to that, I'll give you an update. But got a good picture now of what I think is the area of interest, and starting to get some definition and got some more information. But right now, the news is pretty good that we don't have a tornado on the ground that I can see.
Okay, very good. So confirming on some direction areas, then this area of concern is west of 70, right along and just on the south edge of Interstate 40, but east of Groom. So Groom looks to be in the clear, quite frankly, even though you're still officially included in the tornado warning. That may be canceled or trimmed. But as Dave's pictures confirm and his report confirms, that we think that the rotation area is maybe along or just south of Interstate 40. Well, a new image is coming in, and that's interesting. About halfway in between Groom and 70, there looks to be a new inflow notch. So it may have jumped further to the east again. And Dave, I think as you're getting close, you've been saying you've been seeing some streaks, you're about to hit that hail. So you may have to pause a minute or two as you get closer to that hail core. But again, you may be seeing this on radar. I think I see a new inflow notch. Let me get a minute to get some bearings here. So that's going to be Highway 70 going north. The new inflow notch appears to be right at the junction of 70 north and 40, and then just west of 70 that goes south of 40. Dave?
Okay, that's my target. I'll get on into the Groom, pass it, go to 70, and see where we need to go at that point.
Okay, 10-4. I'll give folks something to look at on radar here, and we'll come back to you in just a second, and sooner if needed. Thank you, sir. Okay, talk about this new inflow notch. We may have seen this twice now, which is kind of interesting. We had the little inflow notch right over Groom, just north of town, and then it jumped maybe 2-3 miles to the east, and now this is the new one that I'm talking about right here. New pictures come in every couple of minutes, but our inflow may be right there. There's a new one, so we see not as tight a notch, but that is definitely some warm, moist, unstable air flowing in. The pink especially is large hail, which is probably right on the highway right now. And then we want to watch the rest of this because we've got a new, what we call pendant. We've mentioned that a couple of times. That's just sort of that lowered part of the radar echoes. So we might want to see watch carefully for some new inflow right there. That's almost the type of situation where you can get more than one rotation center. And we've seen, not often, but sometimes you could get two lowerings or two funnels or two tornadoes, but right on the highway right now, just south of the highway right now. Again, location-wise, here's Groom. This is 70 going north from 40. This is 70 going south from 40. Allen Reed right here, not in any danger from this storm immediately. I'm going to run it in motion again so you can get an idea where it is heading. And we'll go back to Dave in a minute or two. I'll expand the view and give you another idea. Just there are other strong thunderstorm cells. Largely out in the open. Clarendon, you're now in the clear. The storm has moved to the east view, but heavy rain is continuing along 287 in Layla Lake. I think that one's going to clearly develop toward Headley, so you want to be prepared for some hail there. And then this new cell is going to move toward 270. Let me pause this here. 273 right here. That one is going to develop in an easterly direction toward 273. And then we will go a little further to the east. Heavy rain in between Twitty and Shamrock. Let me loop that one a couple of times for you. That one looks to have slowed a little bit. The bulk of it, thankfully, is north of Shamrock, but some heavy rain in between Shamrock and Texola, and some of that could be spilling over, even a little bit of small hail on Interstate 40. Broaden the view before we go back to Dave. We've got our developing line, which is coming across the Texas-New Mexico border right now, and that will continue to move eastward and fill in a little bit. Going to be less of a tornado threat there, but all of the counties in pink are a severe thunderstorm watch, and that will be in effect until midnight tonight. So let's go back to our tornado warned storm, see if we've gotten a new image. And I'll loop it a couple of times, and then we'll go back and check on Dave. Yeah, definitely looking a little bit more chaotic with regard to a defined small rotation that could or could not be a tornado, but still the potential for something to spin up. The bulk of that one, see, that's going to be interesting now too. The bulk of that one is getting to the east of the current tornado warning, and let me check with the Weather Service. Okay, here's some good news. This is just in the last minute. The Weather Service is going to allow the tornado warning to expire, but continue to monitor for rotation as the storm tries to regather itself. So in the next moment or two, this is going to be expired. The red box will disappear, but they will continue to watch the radar. Dave will continue to watch as well. But the threat area has moved away from Groom and now really moved past the highway south of Interstate 40. So let's talk about Highway 70 north of Howardwick. There's a severe thunderstorm warning near you north of Howardwick all along Highway 70 as it moves northward toward Interstate 40. So once again, the Weather Service will expire the warning because the rotation signatures have moved out. It'll be out in open country across that area, the severe thunderstorm warned area. So that's going to be, well, really bulk of Armstrong County. And so Highway 70, be prepared. Okay, let's go back to Dave if we can. And but certainly by 7:45. They're also saying they're monitoring the storms that are coming in that we just mentioned from the New Mexico state line. Primary threat there is going to be penny to nickel size hail and some strong gusty winds. But Dave, tell us what you're seeing.
Okay, well, I've got the area that has moved southeast of Groom, and it's sort of ragged in there. I don't see a lot of definition as far as structure, as far as strong rotation. But my plan, Kevin, is to go ahead and punch on over to Highway 70, drop south and kind of core punch the thing and get down on the inflow side. And if in fact it does strengthen again, I'll be right there to pick it up for you.
Okay, Dave, very good, thanks. I think what we'll do is get off of TV but continue the stream. So we'll come back and check with you in just a minute. If you can put me back up on the wall, please. Okay, good news for TV viewers. We'll go back to programming here in just a minute. The red polygon or red box is a tornado warning that officially goes in effect for another 5 minutes, but the Weather Service is going to allow it to expire. They may even cancel it here in a minute or two. We will continue streaming on all our platforms, newschannel10.com, YouTube, and Facebook. So if you want to continue there, and Dave is out, he's chasing these storms. We'll go back and forth between myself, checking on radar, and him. But again, this is moving in a southeasterly direction. The tornado warning at this moment will be allowed to expire. It could be reissued for portions of Armstrong County based on this new pendant here, and there's maybe a little bit of an inflow notch there, but this is a fairly chaotic one. Velocity products on Doppler radar are not showing a strong rotation indicating any kind of a large tornado, but we'll continue to watch it. So for TV and master control, we'll go back to programming here in just a second. We'll continue on our stream at newschannel10.com and all the platforms. Thank you for staying with us on TV here at News Channel 10. We'll go back to programming. Okay, I'm going to jump in here with you, Gabe. Can I have that chair and you switch with me? Thanks. All right, Dave, we're going to continue on the stream. I'm going to do a little bit of analysis, and if you want to fill us in on the stream as to what you're seeing and specifically where you are, go ahead, sir.
Looking down to the south, there's the base of the storm. You see the precip. Got a little scud action over there. I'm not seeing any rotations really, but this is an area I really need to get through. It's rain and hail, so I'm going to take Highway 70 south, and that'll put me down on the inflow side where you've got that inflow notch, and I'll be able to get a little better picture of the area that might be rotating. And you can keep me up to date on that. I haven't really been able to look at radar since I'm streaming video. So you just kind of guide and direct me, Kevin. We'll get in where you need to see.
Yes, sir. The velocity product has really never shown any kind of strong rotation. I think what we might even be seeing now is something related to like a gust nado if something pops up, because we're really kind of transitioning to the leading edge and the gust front here. But velocity product definitely not showing any strong rotation anywhere. We can comment on the hail core, which is really right at the intersection now of 40 and 70 that heads north. And for those who may be watching the radar, 70 goes north a little further west as opposed to 70 going south. But Dave, are you still west of the actual core, Dave?
Yeah, look at my picture now. I'm looking straight east, and I can see the precip is rapidly coming up on me. So I should be hitting that core here pretty quick before I turn south. Not exactly what I wanted to hear, but
the next few minutes is going to cover a good portion of that section of road, that 2-3 miles in between the 270s, if you will. So do be prepared for your hail to pick up. We can see your rain picking up, obviously, right now, but you may be closing in on that hail core in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, just rain so far.
All right, well, we're watching News Channel 10 coverage of a strong and formerly tornadic thunderstorm over Groom and Interstate 40. The warning will officially be allowed to expire here in a couple of minutes. Well, actually in 1 minute. That red box should go away any second now at 7:45. Doppler Dave Oliver is heading east on Interstate 40. He's west of Groom and chasing this hail core. The leading edge, the gust front, the probably blast of 30 to 40 plus mile an hour winds is now moved south of 40. And that will start to move toward Howardwick. It is still a number of miles away from there, but that would be the next benchmark as far as a city to catch the brunt of this storm. But that's still plenty of time away. I would say that's easily 20 to 30 minutes. So in Howard Wick, if you want to start paying attention, that would be great. If you want to bring the car in the garage, that would be great as well. That would obviously protect things there and prepare to bring in any lawn furniture if you want, or anything you don't want to blow around, because there'll be some strong gusty winds with that cell as well. I'm going to come back and show radar and take a little tour on the other. And you can see now, let me get back to the radar, our red box has disappeared. So good news there. There are currently no tornado warnings active. So good news there. But we still continue with some severe thunderstorm warnings. Those are the orange boxes right there. So there's in the center of your screen is our formerly tornado warned storm, but still with the potential to produce golf ball size hail moving southward. Looks like it's picked up the forward speed a little bit, I would say. So maybe, let me go ahead and do a little distance checking on this one for folks in Howard Wick and Clarendon. You had a storm in Clarendon a little earlier that has now weakened, but let's get a little distance measurement from Howard Wick along 70 to the leading edge of this. So we're now inside of 10 miles. We're probably closer to 5 miles right now, and you can see on the motion once again that this is moving in a south-southeasterly direction. So I would give Howard Wick maybe 20 minutes at the outside before that comes in. So let's do a little radar tour before we check back in with Dave and see what's going on across the rest of the region. Most of the area under a severe thunderstorm watch, and that will be until midnight tonight at this point. Let's check in on our Shamrock storm and run that one to loop a few times. That one's eastward motion has slowed down a little bit, so there is some very heavy rain, not severe at this point, so that doesn't mean wind gusts to 60 or 1-inch hail, but some extremely heavy rain in between Shamrock and Texola. Obviously not a place that you want to be driving right now. And then this storm at Layla Lake and Headley has stayed below severe limits. It was sort of moving eastward, but I think what's going to happen now is it's going to start to do what we call run toward the moisture, meaning move in a more southeasterly direction. So what I expect from this one, and it's either side of 287, which is that line. Whoops, let me get rid of that and try this one. This is 287 right here. So Headley, your rain's going to pick up here in a couple of minutes, and then we'll pan out and go back to this line and a new severe thunderstorm warning, okay, for, that's going to be for Deaf Smith County, and I'll get some information on that one. No tornado threat there right now, but that's going to be some gusty winds and some hail. Let me get the new information on the box. The warning in just a second. Okay, so that'll pop up and give us a severe thunderstorm warning, and that's listed as 6:30 Mountain Time, so that's going to be, well, there's a little bit, and I apologize for this, there's been a little bit of a coding problem with regard to the times, but I'm going to say that severe thunderstorm warning is going to be Central Time in effect until 8:30, given that it's 7:45. So heavy rain's going to continue to pick up, and we're talking flat farmland here, especially in between Bootleg and Sims, where the runoff potential is going to be extremely high, and these slow-moving storms will put down quite a bit of water. So anywhere across the western two-thirds of Deaf Smith County, you are under a severe thunderstorm warning, but the flooding potential, I think, is going to be increasing as we get on through the next couple of minutes. So let's move back to our formerly tornado-warned storm, and we'll check in with Dave in just a second. But that's moving pretty quickly now toward Howard Wick and along Highway 70 south of Interstate 40. We'll go. We're going to check in with you. You clearly got some heavy rain there. Are you picking up any hail yet? And tell us where you are.
Yeah, well, the sign you may not be able to see the visibility, but that's the highway south, 70 south from Clarendon and Howardwood. So that's where I am, 1 mile to that exit. Really hitting the core. I've had small hail so far, maybe some 9 size. Man, the water is really accumulating here, so I'm going to be watching for water crossing and probably some larger hail. I think some hail deposited just kind of on the shoulder of the highway, but it hasn't been really big yet. I know I'm not right in the core, but we're definitely getting there quickly. So I'll be turning south here momentarily, Kevin, right down Highway 70. Can you give me a little guidance on what I'm running into?
Yes, sir, sure can. The hail core continues to sort of jump around, but the heaviest now is southwest of the 70-40 intersection. So if you're just now coming up on the intersection, where we can see you're coming up on the exit there, we saw the road sign go by. So the heaviest hail core as you start to move south on 70 is going to be to your right or just to the west of you. And this thing has picked up in forward speed clearly, so you may actually get a little bit of a break from any small hail and start to get a little bit of an easing on the heavy rain. But that heavy hail core is just on the west side of 70, south of 40, and probably about 5 to 6 miles now north of Howardwick and heading south, Dave.
Okay, so I've made the turn south from I-40 on Highway 70. The hail is starting to pick up. I'm having trouble seeing right now. Visibility is really, really low. Torrential rainfall, and it's really, really building up in the farm fields out here. So that's going to be an issue in itself, is just the amount of water here. Okay, here comes our south turn, actually. Okay, so this is Highway 70, pushing south. Very low visibility. So I'll need to get out of this before I can really get my visual, Kevin, but that's where I am.
Okay, Dave, I think I might pause for a minute because you're going to drive into bigger hail and more intense hail. You might want to pause for 5 or 10 minutes and then sort of pick up behind it, because I don't think that you want to try and punch through this and get to it before Howardwick, because that's going to be a pretty big, tough slog. So maybe either pull over or slow down a little bit, because you are heading into a hail core, and the latest visual activity scan, I think we're getting close to, let me just do some analysis on the fly. I'm going to get to a DBZ. Yeah, we've got some over 70 DBZs just on the west side of the highway heading southeast. So you're going to drive into 70 DBZ here.
Okay.
Don't go too quickly, Dave.
Okay, since it's moving south with me, Kevin, I'll just kind of ease into it. When the hail starts getting very large, I'll back off. Right now I'm looking at probably dime to nickel, about 1 mile south of I-40.
Yep, and I'm seeing a new velocity coupler on the latest reflectivity product just a mile or two northwest of Howardwick. We've got a very clear inflow notch on the reflectivity, so this might be trying to wrap up again. So that would start to put Howardwick in jeopardy, and so we may even jump back on TV. But this latest velocity picture, let me just do a couple of things on the fly here. Yeah, this may be trying to wrap up once again, just a mile or two or three northwest of Howardwick. Doing the distance, that's 3 miles northwest. So it is clearly trying to wrap up again. Good inflow notch. I'm waiting on the new picture, but we may yet see the tornado warning for Howardwick. And of course, I'll keep you posted on that. But we don't want you going through that hail core at this particular moment, Dave. Okay, we're staying in touch with Dave, but I want to give a little bit more clear picture of what we're seeing with regard to the inflow notch and the potential for new tornadic activity. Howardwick, by the way, the Weather Service is suggesting 2 to 3 inch hail, and that's that purple area north of where it says Howardwick. Dave is just on the north side of that, which is why we've asked him to pause and not try and drive through that. But the 2 to 3 inch hail potential is just right on 70 north of Howardwick. And then we've got our new inflow notch, which is looking really healthy with regard to trying to wrap up a new rotation, a new tornado. I'm going to check on the velocity product in just a second, but the potential tornado would be right in this area here, and that, using our measurement tool, is just 3 to 4 miles to the northwest of Howardwick. And again, we'll loop that. And let me get you a little shorter loop here. Okay, so a brief overview. Severe thunderstorm watch until midnight for most of the area. Severe thunderstorm warning currently, and I'm sorry about that time. There's a little coding error no, I think that's fixed. I'm sorry. Okay, so that's Donley and Gray County till 9 p.m. severe thunderstorm warning. Potential rotation just 3 to 4 miles northwest of Howardwick, but there is no tornado warning yet. We're watching very carefully on the velocity products, and the peak potential rotation that I mentioned a minute ago has now weakened. So we're now 2 scans, or at least 4 minutes past what was probably a pretty good rotation signature there. The reflectivity is still showing that inflow notch, and so we're going to continue to watch it very closely. But the Weather Service has not yet pulled the trigger on a tornado warning, and I think they're watching the same thing. I know they're watching the same thing that we are, and want to see persistence in that velocity signature, and it's just not there. That said, Howardwick, you're under a severe thunderstorm warning. It's going to be within the next 5 to 10 minutes that storm's going to move through your area. The big hail core is right on 70 north of Howardwick. And so at this point, if you're in Howardwick, I would love for you to be able to be ready to go to your safe place at a moment's notice. Don't wait for the tornado warning if you feel threatened. Go ahead and be prepared to go to that safe place. Or if your safe place is in the closet in the hallway and you need to get the vacuum cleaner out of there, I'd go ahead and make those preparations as well. Please do not be trying to look out the windows in Howardwick at this storm. It's approaching from the north and northwest, but it's close enough now where some of these larger hailstones could start to pop out, and they could come back even where it may not even be raining, or just raining a little bit, and that can be a danger, especially with some of the larger hailstones. Stay away from the windows, please, because that hail can sometimes come in at an angle, given the strong gusty winds surrounding this storm. We obviously don't want you to be dealing with any broken glass. So once again, a strong thunderstorm near Howardwick. I'm going to switch back over.
Hey, Kevin, I'm about 5 miles north of Howardwood, so I'm just on the edge of that big hail core. I've had quarter-sized hail bouncing around. You can hear some of the stones hitting, but I haven't had the really, really big stuff yet. I am getting far enough south that I can kind of get some definition on the base now. So you kind of see the leading edge over there. That's pretty much around Howardwood. So I'm glad I can finally see what's going on here, but I don't really see a strong rotation. You got that little fingery kind of scallop edge on the leading edge, but not a real tight wall cloud that's rotating or anything.
Yep, that would verify with what we got on radar right now. There's definitely a pendant on that, and there's definitely a really good inflow notch, but it's not really showing too well on velocity. There is definitely some weak rotation, which as you have said or described that you're seeing, but not tightening at this point. But again, no, that's a pretty good lowering. Tough to see through the rain, but that is certainly something that should make people pay attention. Go ahead and tell us what you're seeing, Dave.
Kevin, real quick. Dave's audio is unusable right now on the stream. He can talk to you. You can feed that information back. It's just really bad.
Say that again?
Dave's audio is unusable. It's just so in and out, choppy, bad. So the way we'll have to do it is he'll refer information back to you.
Well, let's just leave it on there. Who cares? One more time, Dave. Put it back on. I'll deal with him.
So this is just back to the northwest of Howardwick. Moving south, ton of hail in there. I think I managed to skate by without getting into the really big stuff.
Can you sense rotation?
But it's headed towards Howardwick, and you know, there may be a little bit of a slow rotation in there, Kevin. I'm going to go up here and get a vantage point, pull off, and really be able to watch this.
Okay, just for location then, Dave is now, or the rotation area, that lowering is just west of Howardwick. So in Howardwick, that's good news in that it is appearing not to go right over town. It is west of Highway 70. The new velocity product that just came in is now showing that it may be tightening a little bit. And we see Dave's picture coming in and out, but it is definitely, that new velocity product is weak, but we definitely have some gate-to-gate shear. So Dave's going to try and get a better look at that. But in Howardwick, we want you to know, number one, that rotation area, that lowering area is just west of town, but it may be strengthening a little bit. And so from there, we want to turn our attention to Clarendon, as that storm would be, well, let me do a little, we'll do a little measurement here. And get a distance check from Clarendon. So we're now 5 miles north of Clarendon. And so no tornado warning currently, but in Clarendon, you are not getting any rain right now, but there is a severe thunderstorm with the potential for golf ball size hail moving in your direction from the north. So let's go ahead and start to get prepped in Clarendon to move to your safe space if you need to, and call your neighbors, let them know. No tornado warning right now, but the potential is there, and it's about 5 miles north of town. New images continuing to come in on the velocity product around Howardwick, and yep, there's definitely some rotation there. It is not speeding up a great deal, but it is definitely there and certainly worth watching, which obviously is what we are doing. Dave, are you able to give us a report?
Yeah, I'm looking right at your rotation area, Kevin. Slow rotation. It hasn't really tightened up since I've been watching it, but it has become pretty obvious that it is rotating. So I got good eyes on it. If something tightens up, I'm right here on it. So you've already told folks in Howardwick, that's where I am right now. Howardwick and Clarendon, go ahead, get ready to dive into shelter. Nothing imminent as far as tornado on the ground right now, but it's certainly got some of the structure, some of the features, some of the behavior of a tornadic storm. I'll get down here south of the lake and we'll pull up stationary. I can watch a little better.
Okay, Dave, new velocity picture in, and it has shown that the velocity couplets have widened out. So that's good news there in that it is not tightening. Our gate-to-gate has gone away, but still broad rotation higher up. And I think you would verify that by what we're seeing right now. That lowering has become less defined and a little bit more ragged. Can you confirm that? So that's good news for areas around Howardwick.
Yeah, I'll confirm that, but still somewhat of rotation there. I've noticed we don't have a real strong inflow. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good point too, because there's a pretty good cell overhead
But anyway,
right now. And so that may be interrupting the inflow, which is good news for the interruption of the inflow into our potentially rotating storm. So good news there, but that, I think you're probably seeing that, and that verifies on radar because of the storm cell over Headley, Dave. And we'll go back and mention too now the hail potential in Howardwick, just because the rotation possibility is west of town. There is still some heavy rain right along Highway 70 and west and northwest of Howardwick, and that is moving southward. So in Howardwick, your potential for at least 1 inch hail. Now here comes a new tornado warning. Okay, they're seeing something. Dave, can you hear me? There's a new tornado warning coming for Howardwick, and it goes right up to the edge of Clarendon. Dave?
Do we need to be on air right now?
Yeah.
You're on air, Kevin.
Okay. Breaking into programming here. We're coming off of our stream, but organizing and getting prepared to tell you about a new tornado warning that is in effect until 8:30. That's going to be for Donley County for a storm that is moving. The rotation part of it is just on the west side of Howardwick and moving to the south and southeast. Let's go ahead and put me back up on the wall if we can, please, and we'll between Dave and me. Let me know if you see a lowering on his picture. All right, I'm going to jump in here. Again, thank you for staying with us, joining us. A new tornado warning for our Channel 10 viewers. We're streaming as well on Facebook, YouTube, and newschannel10.com. But this new tornado warning is going to be for this portion of this cell right here. You can see Howardwick is included. Portions of 287 are included, and then it goes right up to the northwest side of Clarendon. The storm is obviously moving in a south-southeasterly direction. It has got some hail in it that potentially is golf ball size, 1 to 1.7 inches in size, that will continue to move on to the south. So that new tornado warning goes until 8:30. It's just shy of 8:10 right now. The storm had picked up in forward motion a little bit, so it's moving pretty quickly. So in and around Clarendon, if your alert has not gone off on your phone or you're not hearing any sirens or anything like that, there's no indication that they're going right now. But I would go ahead and prepare to go to your safe place. And I'll give you the rundown on those guidance points in just a second. But prepare because we're just a few miles north of town. It's moving pretty quickly, and I think that it will move on in toward Clarendon, certainly over the next 10 to 15 minutes. So the review in Howardwick needs you to be in your safe place right now. Okay, let's go ahead and put up Dave's picture because he's going to go and show us. And let's have Dave give us a report. Can you hear me? Yeah.
His mic's on.
Dave, we can see you. Tell us what you got. Okay, we've been having some audio difficulties. Dave's out in the middle of nowhere.
The picture was frozen.
Yeah, he's got a choppy cell signal, but he's obviously getting us a good picture right now. He has been moving south on 70 around Howardwick, and he's got a pretty good eyeball on that thing that is west of town. I'll check with him again.
I guess he's not getting it.
Oh, this may have gotten changed. Dave, it's Kevin. Can you hear me? Okay, well, what we're watching is Doppler Dave Oliver is near Howardwick, heading south on 70, looking at a tornado-warned storm, but we don't see a funnel. We see some what we call ragged scud clouds right now, but no well-defined rotating lowering. So no indication of a funnel, no dust cloud on the ground, but the Weather Service has seen fit, because of this rotation signature, to issue a tornado warning, and that will be until 8:30 for Donley County. I'm going to go ahead and check on the Weather Service chat, see if we have any new information that I can share with you there. Nope, just the reissuance of the tornado warning. So Dave's got a pretty good picture of it. I believe that he is just south of Howardwick right now. And so once again, we want to turn our attention to Clarendon. You are not under immediate threat, but the tornado warning polygon goes right to the north edge or right to the edge of town. So your phone may or may not be going off. If you know some friends that may not be watching television or watching the streams, go ahead in Clarendon and let them know. If you're in town, let your neighbors know. If you know somebody who lives there, go ahead and let them know, because this is a tornado warning situation, again, for about another 20 minutes until 8:30. We'll check in with Dave again, see if we have audio from him. Dave, can you hear us? You can sit, Andy, and take this. We're going to go back to radar here in just a second.
Yeah, I mean, everything's the way it should be. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's okay. He's got some spotty signal.
Yeah.
But that is all looking fairly ragged as opposed to well-defined. In order to have a tornado, you would want to see well-defined. But this is rotating in the higher levels of the storm, but not so much at the surface. And I'm checking the velocity product right now. We had a little bit of a peak in rotation just south of town, right where Dave is. He's probably a mile or two, if that, away from it. But now the velocity signature has weakened a little bit. The inflow notch continues. But let's go ahead and go to max radar. And let me point out a few things since we're letting people know. Again, Clarendon. Tornado polygon goes right into the top edge or right into the edge of town. This is the severe, the rotation part of the storm right there. Inflow notch, reflectivity wrapping around. This is heavy rain and some hail, which is probably going through Howardwick right now. If you're still watching in Howardwick, a potential for 1 inch or larger hail, that is going to continue for at least another 10 minutes. And then the back edge of this will move south of town. And then we'll start to approach Clarendon. We're just a couple miles away. So let's stay on this, and I'm going to kind of do a quick tour of the rest of the area, since we don't want to focus just on one storm and neglect any others. We've got a pretty good hail core on this one that is just west of 273 and south of McLean. That's going to move across the highway in the next 5-10 minutes with some hail there. It is not officially, no, it is in a severe thunderstorm warning. Here's a big southeast of Kelton. There's easily some golf ball size hail there, and a little bit of a notch on that one as well. But in the next 5 minutes, that's going to move across the Texas, Oklahoma border and on towards Sweetwater. So that will be out of our area. It's north of Texola. It's well northeast of Shamrock. So folks in those areas, you are in the clear with regard to that cell, but that one's producing probably better than golf ball size hail at this moment. The other storm that Dave was commenting, where we kind of commented on with Dave, is the one over Headley. It is not severe at this point, but it's probably being helpful with regard to trying to keep some disorganization on our tornado warned storm, in that it's blocking the outflow a little bit. But it's moving in a southeasterly direction over Headley right now. So the next town along the road, the large area, would be Memphis. You're not in the watch area officially, but you got a storm about 7 to 8 miles to the northwest of you, heading to the southeast. So you want to be aware of that. Let's check on our line of storms that continues to develop and move eastward. There's less of a tornado threat with this, but let's just go down the leading edge of this line. Dalhart, rain's going to pick up for you in just a minute, but it's light to maybe just briefly moderate. I don't see any hail threat there in Dalhart. Let's move southward and south of Highway 54. Hartley. Same story for you. Some light to moderate rain will probably start in the next, say, 5 to 10, 15 minutes at the outside. Same story for Channing. Now, as we go a little farther, we see the heavier rain that is west of Valley de Oro and west of Vega. That's going to have a little bit more potential for some small pea-size to dime-size hailstones. And then this cell that is right over Sims, heavy, heavy rain. Across a good chunk of Death Smith County. So the runoff may be a problem there in and around Bootleg and Westway. Would that eventually make it to Hereford? Yes, we do think it will make it to Hereford here, but that's a little ways off, 30 minutes or so. So back to our tornado warned storm. I'll let you look at the picture for a minute. The rotation area has moved south of Howardwick, but still some hail. And while you watch this, I want to check with our friends at the Weather Service, see what they're updating. Nothing with regard to the tornadic activity just yet. Potential for golf balls in Howardwick, which I just mentioned, and Clarendon. Let's hope, based on the current movement, that the rotation area will stay just to the north and eventually northeast of you. But I do want for you to be prepared that the wind's going to pick up in a minute. Some rain will pick up in just, a couple minutes. And the potential for that rotation to approach you, we will be monitoring. Let's go back to Dave and see if we can try. Dave, it's Kevin. We're having a little audio problem with you, but if you can hear us and give us a report, we'd love to hear it where you are. Okay, I think we're still having problems catching you on audio, Dave, but we've got a picture. Ragged lowering there, not real well defined. You're probably still seeing some rotation. We think you're probably in the Howardwick area. It looks like what potential rotation there has now moved over to the east side of Highway 70, which is obviously good news for Howardwick, but will also be good news for Clarendon in that the rotation should stay north of Clarendon, north of 287, potentially north of Headley as well. Headley, you're not really in the mix just yet, but we're continuing to watch that. So once again, we've got that tornado warning in effect for Howardwick, southward to right to the northern edge of Clarendon. That will go until 8:30, so another 14 minutes left on that. Doppler Dave Oliver is out on the storm. He is chasing. He's gone through some heavy, heavy rain and hail north of town, try and get ahead of and a better look at this storm system in the area of concern where it would be rotating. So once again, for Howardwick, I think let's go ahead and we'll go back to programming on TV in that Howardwick is no longer under threat. And Clarendon, we will come back on TV if we need to, if the rotation either redevelops or gets closer to Clarendon. But we will continue on our stream once again. That will be for our website, newschannel10.com, also on Facebook and YouTube. So again, on TV, thank you for joining us. Please stay with us. You can join us online. And if we need to come back on TV with a greater threat to Clarendon, we will, of course, do that. Thank you for staying with us on TV at newschannel10.com. Join us if you haven't on the stream.
You're clear now.
Okay. All right, let's go back to the reflectivity for a minute, please. I see some good news in the latest image. In fact, let me drill down and tell you what's going on here. I'm going to pause this for just a minute. See how this is separated a little bit right in here. We've still got a bit of a notch right there, but I think one of the things that we've been talking about a few minutes ago might be happening in that we get these gust fronts, meaning you've seen a thunderstorm approach and there's maybe a low-hanging cloud there, and you get a gust of wind. That means that is a gust front, and what it means is the cold, heavy air inside the thunderstorm is falling out, it's crashing down, it's hitting the ground, and that is getting out ahead of the thunderstorm. The thunderstorm wants to feed on the warm, moist, unstable, humid air, but when the cooler air behind the gust front starts to take over, it sort of chokes off a little bit of the fuel for the thunderstorm. And so we may hopefully be seeing that right now, which would be great news for Clarendon with regard to rotation potential. But as you can see, and let me kind of drill down even a little further onto Clarendon, and I'll pause it. We'll do a little distance measurement here from the center of town to the threat area. So we're 2 to 3 miles north of town. In Clarendon, I've been saying this all afternoon in various places, if you want to put the car in the garage real quick, that's probably a good idea. Not necessarily going to get hit with the hail core, but some strong gusty winds, some branches could come down, anything that might fly around, you might want to go ahead in and around Clarendon and be prepared for those. Pull anything inside that might be something that would blow around, even the lawn chairs or something like that. In Howardwick, you are right under that hail core right now, and if you're there, you know it. But let's say give it 5 to 10 minutes at the outside, and that should loosen up as we see the rotation or the movement of that storm is southeast. Still right under that hail core right now. It will continue to go southward, either side of 70, west and east of 70, and move south along the highway toward Clarendon. But our hope is at this moment that the bulk of that storm will move to the north and northeast of Clarendon. So I'll let you loop that. I'm going to check with our friends at the Weather Service. Just a moment ago, they say that they're going to trim the tornado warning as it has exited the Howardwick area, which is good news. We've talked about that, but there's still some hail. They're saying that the rotation still remains present with the storm, and that's what we're obviously confirming with the Doppler velocity product to see that as well. But they are trimming the tornado warning to no longer include Howardwick. It goes right up to the edge of Clarendon. Again, since they're right on the edge in Clarendon, various things may or may not have gone off with regard to your phone, if you got the News Channel 10 app or any sirens or anything like that. Right on the edge, it makes that a tough call. In the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes at the outside, the Weather Service will make a decision as to whether or not they want to pull that tornado warning further southward and include Clarendon, and then that would include anywhere along 287 southeast of town in the direction of Layla Lake. New information coming from the Weather Service to our west, meaning west of Amarillo, getting observations of gusts reaching 40 to 50 miles per hour on the western line of storms. And I'll take you back there in just a minute. Yes, sir.
We have Dave now on headset.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Dave. They're trimming the tornado warning to no longer include Howardwick, but it goes right up to Clarendon, so that's the next point of interest. The velocity product is showing sort of a little bit of cycling. Right now on the latest, I don't see any real strong signs of rotation. Tell us what you're seeing.
Yeah, okay, well, that's looking just north of Clarendon on Highway 70. It's a little lower area. I just kind of got surprised by the rear flank downdraft over here. So I'm going to get back on 287. I'm going to get back out, drop off to the east a little bit, get a little better picture. But I understand the tornado warning is still intact. I'm still not seeing a tornado, though.
Okay, Dave, thanks. Yeah, the rotation signature has really changed from rotation to more gust front looking, which is obviously what you were looking at. But again, the good news, since I know you're trying to drive and shoot and report at the same time, good news is the rotation signature has really weakened. We're still about 7 to 8 minutes away from the end of this tornado warning. But at this moment, based on the current products, I don't see where the Weather Service would extend that. But we'll hope for Clarendon's sake that we don't get some new rotation development there, and of course watching that as well. But we're watching your stream. You've got some heavy rain and those SLC clouds, those scary looking clouds off in the distance. And that's what you're keeping an eye on to see if any of those want to tighten up and rotate as opposed to just hanging there. Where are you now? Are you all the way to Clarendon?
Yeah, I'm in Clarendon. I'm going to go east a little bit where I can see a little bit. The rear flank downdraft precip kind of got me. I didn't expect that. But anyway, I'll be get out of the buildings here just shortly. I'll have a clear picture up into that core for you.
Okay, 10-4, so I'll try and narrate a little bit of what Dave is seeing while he drives. He said he's heading east. He's going to try and just get away from downtown so he gets a little bit better visibility and go east on, I assume, 287, yeah. So this is, you can see in the background there, it's an angry-looking thing that is approaching town. The tornado warning does not extend through town officially at this point, but the Weather Service, again, will make that decision in the next couple of minutes. Dave's just gone past O'Reilly Auto Parts. If you know where that is, you can kind of get an idea where he is. And he's looking, traveling east and looking back to the north at this approaching storm. Dave, you want to give us another report? I can keep talking, or you let us know what you're seeing.
Yeah. I've got sirens going off. I'm not sure if it's only that ambulance ahead of me or if they're blowing the sirens for the city.
10-4, I'll check with the Weather Service, see if they've heard anything with regard to that. Stand by.
I'm I'm hearing multiple
Okay,
sirens,
Dave,
not
good
just
news for the Weather Service. They're going to
so.
go ahead and let the tornado warning expire. That does not mean that it won't be reissued, but they are going to let the tornado warning expire in 5 minutes as the velocity couplet, the rotation showing that, has significantly weakened and really turned to more of a straight line gust front presentation, which is what you've been looking at. But I will say that the velocities are increasing there. So what's going to come into town in Clarendon in the next couple of minutes is some strong winds that will easily be 40 to 50 miles per hour, and some straight line winds when this gust front hits could be a little bit stronger. But once again, Dave, the tornado warning is going to be allowed to expire here in the next few minutes, and at this moment not include Clarendon. Dave?
Okay, good. That's really good. Yeah, it's becoming, it really looks outflow dominant right now. You can kind of see that kind of Arcus cloud looking stuff there. I'm dropping south. I'll tell you what, I'm going to keep going a little bit further east on 287.
10-4, Dave. What Dave's
I
talking
was going
about
to drop south on 70, but
You go right ahead, Dave.
okay. Yeah, here's the core back in here. Disorganized. I've got my visibility back. I'm out of the precip. Yeah, just kind of standard leading edge, kind of ragged clouds, Kevin.
10-4, and I'll narrate what we're seeing a little bit while you continue to get east of town. We mentioned these gust fronts that you'll see, and that's sort of this low-hanging, almost arced or rolling cloud, sometimes referred to as a shelf cloud, and that has apparently moved past Dave. And so what Dave is trying to do is go to the east and get out from under it so that he can look back and get a little bit clearer view that doesn't include the buildings of downtown Clarendon, but also kind of see that leading edge of there. And sometimes you can get little spin-ups. They're called gustnados. They generally don't last very long. They're extremely hard to warn for, but you can get a little spin-up rotation or a funnel that would come in contact with the ground and become, again, what's referred to as a gustnado. It's not out of the question in this type of situation. I don't really see evidence of that at this moment on this, but what I'm seeing now, Dave, on reflectivity is you're right in that it's outflow dominant, but we've got this gust front, but just on the northeast side of Clarendon, there is a little bit of a notch there. So that's the area that we'll want to watch, and that may be what we're seeing right now in your stream to see if that wants to tighten up, because any kink in that line can then turn into rotation. I think that's probably the lowering that you're showing us right now, Dave.
Yeah, trees here with me right now, but yeah, overall, I think it's more and more outflow dominant. You know, it's always kind of, well, interesting, sometimes alarming to see all the low-hanging finger stuff. But that's very common on the outflow of the storm. And that's all I'm seeing right now. I will kind of turn back around since you said the couplet is back on the east or northeast side of Clarendon. I'll kind of look back that way. First chance I get to do a turnaround here, I'll do that. Just missed that. Make that the second time. There it is coming up.
10-4, Dave, and just to let you know that that storm that's well out ahead of you at Headley is increasing in intensity. The hail core now south of town, Headley, and south of 287 is now well into the 60s. We may have a couple close to 70 dBZs, and the leading edge of that one may not try and start to develop some sort of kinked rotations there. Not seeing it just yet, but it is a severe thunderstorm warned storm, and Memphis is going to be the next one in line for that storm. It is about between 5 and 10 miles northwest of Memphis right now, and so in Memphis you want to start to prepare for heavy rain to move into your area, and again the potential for some 1-inch or even some golf ball size hail. All right, Dave, I see you've pulled off a little bit. Let us know. You've gotten out just on the leading edge of that gust front.
Yeah, it's all outflow to me, Kevin. All the way back, coming through Clarendon now. That's back in here. So the rain is really going to pick up. The hail is going to pick up. This is this is about 3-4 miles east of Clarendon, just north of Highway 287, and that's got outflow written all over it. I will. You mentioned the storm that's over by Headley. That's what I'm showing you now. Lightning has really picked up on that. Do you have a preference, Kevin? Would you like for me to go after the Headley storm, or stay on this one, or what would you like?
Well, I think maybe if you want to jump out a little bit further ahead of that one, you'll get some good pictures, and next chance you have to turn around again, you can kind of see how it's doing. Just so you know, we've hit 8:30, and so the tornado warning that was from Clarendon northward has been allowed to expire. So we're currently under no tornado warnings. We've got a number of severe thunderstorm warnings and comments from the Weather Service on our developing line of thunderstorms in the western portion of the region, which have no tornado warnings currently, but the principal threat there is going to be some gusty winds and maybe up to some nickel-size hail. So that's going to be a little bit more like we had last night, in that it is brief pockets of very, very heavy rain, broader areas of moderate rain, and then brief pockets of hail as well. And those are not moving particularly quickly, so the flooding potential will increase a little bit as well. So Dave looks like he's back on 287. He's now southeast of Clarendon, heading for Headley. And in front of him is another thunderstorm that is producing some hail south of town and heading for Memphis. So we may see if he can head toward that one, but we'll also check and see what's happening in Clarendon. In Clarendon, if you're getting some heavy rain right now and a little bit of small hail, give it another 5 minutes and then that will move past you. But a little bit of a hail core will move across 287 to the east of Clarendon, probably where Dave is right now. So Dave, we've lost your picture for just a minute, but it's kind of coming back in and out. But again, I think you're heading toward Headley, and then Memphis would be the next target. And that cell, just as I've been talking here, we've clearly got a good pocket of 70 plus dBZs. So some better than golf ball size hail will become an increasing threat for Memphis. Dave? Okay. We've lost Dave's signal for a minute, so we're going to come back to the Max Radar product, and let me get you an idea of what we're looking at here. I'm going to adjust this a little bit and turn our attention to what is now a heavier storm. Again, the tornado warning has been allowed to expire. That did go right up to Clarendon. Howardwick, you're in the clear. We know we'd had you in the tornado warning a little earlier, but now we've got this new thunderstorm, this strengthening thunderstorm, I should say, that is producing at least golf ball size hail, and that's about to crawl right over 287, just a few miles to the northwest of Memphis. And we'll do a little distance measurement on that one for you, right there. So now we're inside of 5 miles northwest of Memphis. Dave is approaching the storm from behind. He may or may not be able to go through it, but that storm's going to move in toward Memphis and then close in on Memphis here in the next 10 to 15 minutes at the outside. So as we've been saying throughout the evening, let's turn our attention to Memphis and give some indication of what you might be expecting and how you can prepare. In Memphis, you've got a couple minutes to pull the car in the garage. You've got a couple of minutes to pull some things also in the garage or off the back porch that might blow around in some strong gusty winds. I think the gust front's going to hit you in maybe 5 minutes or so, and then the heavy rain will pick up, and then the golf ball size hail, or potentially even a couple stones larger. So in that case, we want you to not be out there looking around, wait for it to come through. Once you think the rain has stopped, and we'll give you an all clear in Memphis once that thing does get through, but that's going to be 20 minutes or more. You can go out and maybe pick up and look at some of those hailstones. But at that time when it begins to come through, please don't be looking out the windows or trying to photograph at that point. Some of that hail can come from, number one, strange angles that you might not expect, and then it can come in at an angle, and at that point we're looking at things that can break windows, and we obviously don't want that, so please stay away from those windows. But I have been on storms where I have been well, almost in the same position as Memphis is right now, where you're well southeast of the storm. It's not raining, but those hailstones can pop out of the storms, and then given what we've been talking about much earlier about the wind shear, those hailstones can come back in at a different angle than you might expect, and they could be fairly large. So again, Memphis is going to be the next area of concern. In Headley, let me get off of that and move this. In Headley, rain should be picking up loosening up, in your area in the next couple of minutes. So if you're still getting some heavy rain, give it another less than 5 minutes, and that should weaken a little bit. Let's go back to our western line of storms here, and before we do that, let's talk about Goodnight. You're about to get some heavy rain. This storm is not severe, and the definition of severe is 1-inch hail or 60-mile-an-hour wind. So it's not met that criteria yet, but some heavy rain is coming down 287 toward you in Goodnight in the next really minute or two, 3 or 4 minutes at the outside. We'll watch the trend on that one, of course. Now let's go westward to our developing line of storms,
Hey, Kevin,
and just
tell
go
me
down
if
the
you got
line.
Pictures of hail from Paducah if you want 'em.
I don't have an ability to get them on TV just now, but if y'all do, I'll certainly take it.
Where are they on their social?
Okay, let's talk Dalhart first. You can see the rain dissipating for you, so you may not get any rain in Dalhart. Good news, obviously, there. Middle water, moderate rain, not severe at this point, but moving toward Hartley. Give that 10 to 15 minutes at the outside. Same story for Channing. We pick up an intensity right now, severe thunderstorm warning until 9:15 for Deaf, Smith, and Oldham counties. So that's going to be west and southwest of Channing, west of Boys Ranch. Let's stop and do a distance measurement on that one. We can get a better idea of the timing. Let's pick Boys Ranch. So we're about 15 miles. So now we're closer to 20 to 30 minutes for Boys Ranch, Channing, Valley d'Oro. And we'll go a little further down the line. Heavy rain has already moved through Adrian, but in Vega, rain's going to pick up for you in just a couple of minutes. I would not be wanting to go outside in Vega at this moment. Let's just wait for it to pass. But severe, strong winds, a little bit of small hail, not tornadic. That will eventually approach Wildorado. It's probably still a good half hour or so from Bushland. And then we'll move further south. We talked about Hereford. Guess what? It's a-coming. There's a new cell developing just north of town, not tornadic. It's over Westway right now. It has moved past Bootleg, and Bootleg, your rain is going to let up in a couple of minutes. But heavy rain and easily some pea-size hail is a moment or two away from Westway and 5 to 10 minutes away from Hereford. So in Hereford, check with your neighbors. Just let them know some heavy stuff's coming. Not tornadic at this point. Don't expect it to be. This linear line of storms is less likely to produce any tornadic activity. In Dimmitt, let's give you 30 to 40 minutes before some heavy rain will pick up. That heavy rain is obviously now along 60 in Friona, in Black, again closing in on Hereford. In Bovina, you've just missed it. The heavy rain will go along Highway 86 right toward Dimmitt, so heavy rain there. And that's our big line of storms. So once again, no tornado warnings currently. Do we know a status on Dave? Can we hear from him?
He just came back.
Okay, let's see.
Just seen some heavy rain.
Okay.
Can you look at him?
Yeah, sure. And if we can talk to him,
Yeah, we'll try.
my phone. Unity, right. Yeah. Dave, we'd lost your signal for a while. If you could
Okay,
hear us,
Kevin, if
check
you're,
in with us
listening.
where you are, what you're seeing.
Yeah, sure. I did it just almost heavily. I'm turning back now. I'm going to lose that storm down by Memphis in the darkness, I think, and I don't really want to tackle the hail and stuff in the dark. So I'm going to backtrack, come back through Clarendon. I'll be able to hit that line and then probably the Amarillo stuff by the time I'm getting back. So I'll just kind of hit some of these storms on my way back to town, let you know what's happening. So the one you see ahead of me right now, pretty much right over Clarendon. And I'm going to punch through that, see what it's doing, and then continue back towards Amarillo.
So he's heading back toward Clarendon, DJ? Okay. So Dave's going to go back, and that storm, that cell that he's approaching there is weakening a little bit. It still probably has some small hail, but he's going to try and get some good pictures through that. What we're seeing there, even though it's a little blurry and pixelated, is this shelf cloud that we've been talking about. And right in the middle left of your picture is the heaviest rain core, that sort of darkish gray that's under the line of clouds. And that's a lot. There it is right there. Do want to emphasize, though, for Memphis, you're going to be next. Dave is not going to be able to punch through that storm and get out ahead of it and let you know. But in Memphis now, we're within a mile or two northwest of town. It's coming right down the highway, either side of the highway. It is severe warned, so we're talking about at least 1 inch hail coming into Memphis here in the next couple of minutes. No tornado warnings currently. But a severe thunderstorm watch for most of the area, and that will go until midnight tonight. Somewhat similar to last night in that this will turn into a heavy rain area, pockets of hail, but heavy downpours which will cause runoff problems. Dave, if you can still hear us, you got a pretty good picture now.
Yeah, this is at Lilia Lake, Kevin. And I'm not sure if you heard my earlier communication. I decided I'm going to lose that storm down at Memphis in the darkness, I think, and don't really want to tangle with all the hail and stuff driving by myself. And I thought we might come back and punch some of these storms between there and Amarillo and at least let you know what's happening in those.
10-4, Dave. Thanks. We appreciate that. Obviously, we Dave and we want to stay safe. Always our goal is to get out ahead of them because that's where you see the most interesting pictures and have the better chance of seeing any kind of rotation, any kind of a gustnado that might come, any kind of a shelf cloud. But Dave would have had to drive through some extremely heavy rain and dangerous hail to try and get to that to Memphis, which we obviously do not. We do not advise that. So in Memphis again, approaching strong thunderstorm, a severe warned thunderstorm. Not showing any rotation signatures at this moment in time. Yeah, we can go ahead and do that. I want to look at I'm going to look at the velocity signature just to see what's coming into Memphis right now. And mainly straight line winds, a little bit swirly, but it looks like the gust front has come through Memphis. So if you haven't felt that in Memphis yet, a little blast of wind, you're going to get it in moments, and the rain's going to pick up in intensity, quite heavy. The hail core looks like it wants to move through, well, from Memphis west-southwestward toward Lakeview. So obviously no travel there. Oh, well, let's do this. This is kind of, we're going to do a little meteorology here. Let's stop this for a minute and close in on this particular cell and do some telestrating. This is the hail core right here. What's really interesting and potentially dangerous is this little spike right there where you see the blue. That's called a three-body hail spike. And what it's telling us is the radar beam goes into the thunderstorm and some of the energy bounces back to the radar. And that's how we determine intensity and distance, and we can place these on a map. But this little spiked area here, what it's telling us is that some of that radar beam is actually coming from the radar, hitting the hail. Some of the beam is bouncing down to the ground, back up off the ground, back up to the hail core, and then back to the radar. And that extra added distance is what shows up as this three-body hail spike. But what that tells us is that the hail, a good bit of it, is aloft and is about to come crashing down from the thunderstorm. So this thing is about to dump a load of large hail in between Lakeview and Memphis. Some of the heavier stuff may come into Memphis, but I think the main body of that, and that hail spike is clearly south of Memphis now, which is good news for Memphis. But heavy rain, extremely heavy rain, strong gusty swirly winds closing in on Memphis, Texas right now. Expand the view a little bit and then see where we would look for next. Estillene would be next. That's still quite a bit out. We'll see if it can hold together. You are included, Estillene, in a severe thunderstorm warning, so that potential there is absolutely there. But now again in Memphis, if you're in Memphis listening, if you know somebody there, tell them to prepare for some golf ball or better size hail here in the next minutes. The time has ended to go out and pull a car in the garage or anything like that. I would want you to be, please, inside and away from the windows and ready to prepare for this extremely heavy hail core coming in. Again, no tornado warnings, which is good news. I'm going to expand the view and make sure. We've got severe thunderstorm warnings on the line of storms, again approaching Channing, now in Vega. This is going to come toward Amarillo. Rain's going to pick up in Hereford in mere moments, and there will likely be some pea-size or dime-size hail in that. Do we have Bushland Tower Cam? Oh, you're looking at it. Let's look at that. That's our shelf cloud right there. Yeah, let's show everybody that.
That's a good question.
There's a camera's
It's been a minute.
up, I think.
You drive.
Well,
There we go.
yeah, Bushland there. And take it.
There we go.
Okay,
There it is.
great picture from Bushland looking westward. Interstate 40 is on your screen. Yeah, pan back and forth there. This is the visual representation of what I'm going to show you in a minute on radar. Go ahead and zoom in.
Yeah. This camera.
That's the leading edge of that shelf cloud. This is the textbook definition of the shelf cloud that we've been talking about. Tilt down a little bit. There's the northern edge of it. But that lighter area right above the dark, that's the leading edge of the cloud. That's called a shelf cloud. And what's happening is the thunderstorm is creating cold air, heavy air, rain-cooled air. And so as that becomes heavy and gets away from the updraft that is the thunderstorm, that heavy air comes crashing down to the ground. And when it hits the ground, it can do nothing but spread out. And so that colder air slices underneath the warm, humid air that we're feeling right now in Bushland, lifts it, forces it to rise and cool and condense into that cloud. But that's also going to bring a 40 to 50 or even close to 60 mile an hour wind gust. Now you see a little lowering on the left-hand side right there. That's called a scud cloud, but we watch those for rotation and persistence. It's not going to be a tornadic rotation, but on the leading edge of these gust fronts, we'll get sometimes a little notch. And sometimes they can turn in, this is pretty close to what we call a QLCS, or a quasi-linear convective system. And those can get these little ripples right along the leading edge, right along that gust front, and create a little spin up. But that one's not really persisting or well-defined, and it's actually back just behind the gust front. But this is now just a couple of miles west of Bushland. Let's keep going to the west. That's okay. Yeah, that's all right. So in Bushland, while you were looking at it, let's come through Vega. I want to drill down a little closer on our radar. And that's obviously going to be in Bushland in a couple of minutes. We may feel it and get a little shake on the camera when that hits. And then almost immediately afterwards, the heavy rain will pick up. Now, I'm not seeing any signs of rotation there, which is good, but I am seeing some strong gusty winds. Let me do a little analysis on the fly and see. I see a little wind core that's northwest of Vega, right there. And so, yeah, I see some, oh, now there's 56 miles per hour there. Let me drill down a little closer. We'll get a couple of pixels that'll show us between 50 and 60, which is why the Weather Service has warned on that. So areas that are going to be in line for that are going to be, and we're going to go back to Memphis in a minute here. I'll check on Dave too.
He's over there if you want to take a look at him. He's right there on the
Okay,
top
thanks.
right.
Yeah, we'll go back there in just a minute.
Okay.
I just want to make Channing, your rain's going to pick up. It's not going to be particularly heavy. Valley d'Oro, yeah, you're going to get heavy rain and probably some pea to nickel-size hail. We are still about just a little over 15 miles away from Amarillo, and we're just a couple miles away from Bushland. And then let's go a little further south on this line. Hereford, rain's going to pick up for you. Eventually this will make it to Canyon and Happy. Dimmitt, you're going to have some rain here in a little bit as well. Okay, let's go back and check with Dave first. Beautiful shelf cloud picture, unbelievable.
East Chase for 2, yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
Looking a little more ragged, and that means friendly. Tell us where you are, what you're seeing.
Okay, can you see how the traffic stopped? This is eastbound 287, east of Clarendon. I just came through there with $half hail, and there was some damage. There was some trees down and some branches across the road. So we got a big old push of outflow in there right after I came through there. But law enforcement has stopped traffic from going east of Clarendon on 287. So folks need to factor that into travel plans. It might be a while. You might be hitting a snag there east of Clarendon. Again, the damage I saw was a couple of trees down and this pretty big branches and leaves out across the roadway. About the time I was taking some $half size hail, so it got rough through there. It's since passed down to the south, but traffic stopped going eastbound on 287 right now.
Okay, Dave, very good. You're showing us some clear evidence of some straight line winds there. We should mention that for Clarendon, the heavy rain and the hail has now moved east of town. It is still a severe warned storm, but it is moving eastward, southeastward along 287 toward Headley. We want to mention Memphis again. I'll come back to the radar in just a second, but as Dave has been reporting, we've got some trees and some branches, certainly a lot of leaves down on the highway 287, and law enforcement is not allowing folks to travel east beyond Clarendon due to some potential damage there. Doubtful that it was tornadic damage, but it doesn't matter at that point. Damage is damage, and so it has done enough that it has impacted the roadway 287 there. We'll see if the newsroom can get maybe some information on any damage there, and Dave will be keeping an eye on that as well. Let's go back to the tower cam in Bushland. That thing is really coming close. In and around Bushland, this is what's heading toward you. Let's tilt up a little bit, and yeah, pull it out and get the wide view. That's just moments away. So again, as I've been saying all evening, if you want to pull in the car in the garage real quick, you've got a minute or two to do that, but it's going to come pretty quickly. Beautiful shelf cloud, just beautiful, beautiful structure. If you know anybody in Bushland, let them know it's coming. You see a lowering there from the lightning. That does not appear to be tornadic rotation, but it is, again, just an indication of the strong, strong gusty winds. I'm going to do a little bit of analysis on the fly, on the leading edge of that, and see what we can see. We had pretty good evidence north of the highway, just north of Bushland, of some straight line winds between 50 and 60 miles per hour. I do not really see anything indicating any rotation on this. It's actually getting a little bit of a bow. What that means is a section of this, and it's the section that you're looking at, is actually now moving out faster than the rest of the line, and that's an indication that strong, strong winds right behind it are pushing that little section out a little faster and a little harder. So that's just further confirmation of that 50 to 60 mile an hour wind that's about to close in on Bushland here in the next couple of minutes. We check with our friends at the Weather Service. Most recent report just a couple of minutes ago to verify what we were talking about. The Mesonet, West Texas Mesonet site in Vega had a gust measured to 66 miles per hour. A new warning is coming that is going to, severe thunderstorm warning, that is going to include Amarillo with the potential of 70 mile an hour wind gusts being the main threat. Still some small hail is possible, but again, Amarillo, you're about to be included in a new severe thunderstorm warning, and that potential for 70 mile an hour winds will be approaching Amarillo, but that's still easily 10 to 15 minutes away. And again, we'll watch it kind of come through. Wow, that's
amazing.
That's impressive, yeah. Is that zoomed out all the way?
It's all the way out. Yeah.
Okay.
It's coming.
No, it's a coming.
Get over here to the lightning.
All those cars on the highway are outrunning going eastward and hopefully pausing going westward because they do not want to be in the middle of that. Let's go a little further to the right and just kind of go the whole way. Yeah, see how it's kind of arced? That's the bow. That is an indication of very strong straight line winds. Go a little further to the right. And I'm talking to Kyle, who is running things for me. Thank you, Kyle. Come back a little bit further to the left. That little hook, that little notch right in there. Let's zoom in on that.
On this guy?
Yeah. Right there. We talked about these little kinks that can form on these lines, and this is one of them. You see how it kind of notches in back to the left or to the west. And so you want to look there for any gustnado that might try and form. That would be a lowering, and sometimes you can get a little brief funnel or something to touch the ground. And those can have, 60 to 85 mile an hour winds in them. They generally don't last very long or persist, but they will potentially do some damage, throw some things around, break off some limbs, something like that. So that little notch on that gust front there is pretty interesting and well worth watching. Don't see any lowering there right now, which is good news. Let's pull back out and kind of see what's going west. We'll just kind of walk this thing right into bushland here, and eventually Amarillo. Yep, interesting lowerings. Those are scud clouds. I'm sensing a little bit of the green tinge there, which indicates hail. There's some research that suggests that the green tint actually comes from the light coming through larger, or is dependent upon the size of the raindrops, which is kind of interesting, but it always comes along with some hail as well. Obviously this is looking westward, and so the sun is going down behind it. Oh, I guess it's not down, going down behind it. A little raggedy. That's actually good in that it's a little more chaotic, but when they're real smooth and hard like that, you are talking about some strong gusty winds. But this gust front is going to hit this tower or this camera in a couple of minutes.
Just see how good its image stabilization is.
Yeah. Just for fun, it's going to hit. I was going to say we'll turn back toward Amarillo in a minute, but Amarillo is
wireless is going to get pretty spotty.
Yeah. The new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued that does include Amarillo. It goes from Happy through Canyon, northward through Amarillo, and that is further northward to just south of Dumas. That is a severe thunderstorm warning, not a tornado warning, but talking about strong straight line winds and potentially some hail. Let me get you the indication on that. Severe thunderstorm warning that includes Amarillo, wind gusts potentially to 70 miles per hour, hail to 3/4 of an inch at least. Thunderstorm damage threat they are listing as considerable, and a little bit more information on that. We'll get you. This is on the new warning from the Weather Service. That warning's in effect until 10:30, so we've got some time yet before it gets to Amarillo. They are basing it on a line extending from 9 miles southwest of Channing to 10 miles south of Boys Ranch to 8 miles northwest of Bushland to 3 miles southeast of Wildorado to 7 miles west of Dawn to 4 miles northeast of Summerfield, and it's moving eastward at 20 miles per hour.
Pretty healthy lightning.
All right, so that thing is right over the Bushland Tower Cam right now. Keep spinning left. Yeah, let's see if we can get the underside of it, because that might be. Let's zoom out, and we're going to be.
We're as far out. We're there.
Oh, are we now? Oh, I thought
It's
it was.
here.
Okay. Let's spin around all the way. Go 180 degrees, because these are kind of neat to look at from the other side. There you go. So there's the leading edge. Tilt down a little bit. That'll help the iris. Yep. Keep going.
We can force it into manual if we want.
No, that's fine. So that leading edge has got, now in the center of your screen right there, there's a new cell developing over Amarillo, or just on the south side of Amarillo. That's not the main punch, but actually let's zoom in on that. It's going to be scary looking for folks in Amarillo who are paying attention and getting a little worried. There is a lowering there. I don't see any kind of suggestion of rotation necessarily, but we want to watch that. That's clearly a lowering. Is it going any further?
Yeah, I take it in.
Yeah.
As far as you want.
Yeah, let's let it focus and see. Sometimes you can get a sense of a rotation there. I think it's just lowering and scud. And if you pan a little further left, we pick up the heavy rain, and there's probably some developing hail in there. And go a little further, we could probably see Amarillo to the left. There's the highway.
There's all those new lines.
Oh, those new?
Yeah.
Yeah. Amarillo's there in the background.
We're gonna be.
All right. Yep, that's it.
There's that.
Oh, yeah, go a little further. We just hit the, there's the Santa Fe building. There's downtown, looking westward from Bushland. All right, let's zoom back out. We'll go wide, come back around and see what we're getting in. There it is. Yeah. I'm always reminded of the scene from that movie Independence Day when the giant ship came over.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, the optics on these things are great.
All right, so that is a severe thunderstorm. Okay, this thing is bowing even more, and the wind signature, straight line wind signature, is increasing. So we're going to keep an eye on the leading edge of that. That's going to come into Bishop Hills now. We are about, and we're probably going to go on, TV here in the next 5 minutes just to let people know. We're about 7 miles west of Bishop Hills, and so that's going to be the leading edge of this is, come on, follow me, computer.
Hey, Master, you there?
Leading edge of this is now about 12 miles west of Amarillo, heading east at about 20 miles per hour. Let's quickly, if we can, go to the Amarillo tower cam and look south at that new cell that's developing on the southeast side of town. There it is. Yeah, perfect. So, scary looking, not tornadic at this moment. We'll keep an eye on it, but if you're in and around Amarillo, especially southeast of town, looking at that, it is, again, sometimes what we jokingly refer to as an SLC, scary looking cloud, but not presenting any kind of a tornado threat at this particular moment. I'm gonna let you pan around on that. Just do a 360 on Amarillo, if you would, Kyle, while I check in with our friends at the Weather Service. New severe thunderstorm warning was issued for the cell south of Clarendon as it's moving away from town. Still potential of golf ball size hail. The Hereford mesonet, and we'll go there on radar in just a minute, just reported a 68-mile-an-hour wind gust. Yes, sir?
We're ready to go when you are.
Okay, we'll give it another minute before it gets closer to Amarillo, but we want everybody to know what's going on there. Okay. Gabe?
Yes, sir.
I'll give you a little max lesson here. I'm going to stay right on this scene. Let me save it. If I ask you to zoom in, you come backwards. Zoom out. It doesn't matter if you do it wrong on the first thing. And then if you click and hold, you will pan up and down. So we'll probably stay right about there, but come in and out. Okay? So we'll leave it right there. And then to
Kevin,
loop
do you
it.
want to wait till 9:07 or do you want it now?
Let's do it now. Well, what is it? 9? We can wait. We can do 9:07.
Yeah, let's do 9:07 now.
Okay, so that's looping there, and that's current. Okay, so I'll do that on TV. And if you don't remember, it's fine. If you want to practice for a minute, that's okay.
Looping.
That's looping. That's current. And then you click and hold to pan up and down and zoom in and out. There you go. And I may ask you to go north, south, east, west.
Ooh.
And we'll go down toward Hereford probably.
We're going to come
too.
back to Bushland's tower cam. We've got some great lighting here.
Yeah, come on. Okay.
It is bobbing around pretty good.
I'll spin this around so I can see the clock. All right, so a brief overview for those on the stream. We're going to go on TV here in a minute for a Boeing thunderstorm segment that has just come through Bushland and is approaching Amarillo from the west. It is a couple of minutes from the loop, 335 loop, and that's going to come through with a brief gust of wind that could be between 50 and even 70 miles per hour, and then some pea to dime nickel-size hail not out of the question. So that's going to close in on Amarillo in just the next couple of minutes. So we're waiting for a break on TV to go ahead and give the TV folks an update. Dave is near Clarendon. A reminder what he reported on a few minutes ago, and he's kind of losing the light there. But when he was in Clarendon a few minutes ago, eastbound traffic from or through downtown to the east had been stopped by law enforcement from some straight line wind damage that apparently knocked down some branches, maybe a tree or two, and maybe created a little bit of debris from, I don't know, some buildings or something like that. But I'm sure they're in the process of clearing that out. But Dave is again east, or I think he's now west of Clarendon, and is kind of circling around looking for information on those storms. This is the Amarillo tower cam that we're looking at right now, and there's a little cell that's developed on the southeast side of town. It is not severe at this one moment, but it is within a severe thunderstorm warning. Could be, yep. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit, Gabe, and we'll start wide. And as soon as we go on TV, closing in on Valley d'Oro, Bishop Hills. If you're not getting it yet, you will in a minute. Moderate rain picking up in Channing, less likely to see some hail. Let's go southward to Hereford if we can, Gabe. So heavy rain there, some hail. We did get a report of a 68-mile-an-hour wind gust in Hereford, and that is continuing to move east. So this is going to get to Happy. It is going to get to Canyon. It is going to get to Amarillo here in the next 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the outside. West side of town first, probably closer to 10 minutes or less for the outer loop, the western loop, 335. That's going to be Helium Road as well. Okay, I would like Max behind me, please. I would like Max behind me, Kyle, when we get to that minute. And I think we're pretty close to being on TV here.
How long, Nash?
Checking Memphis.
40 seconds.
Okay. No tornado warning in Memphis.
10-4. Somebody needs to go.
I can watch. I can watch here as well.
30 seconds, guys.
I will probably go long beyond the break.
He's just got an open end here, Nash.
Ten seconds.
Okay, good evening. Wanted to break in on television here. We're continuing to stream on all of our platforms, newschannel10.com, YouTube, and Facebook. Number one warning, no tornado, or number one advisory, no tornado warning currently for Amarillo. But we wanted to break in on TV, and we'll stay with you for a couple of minutes because we have a very strong line of thunderstorms that is moving eastward. In fact, you can go ahead and loop that if you would, Gabe. This line of thunderstorms is moving, has just come through Bushland, created a very impressive looking shelf cloud, a scary looking cloud that has got the potential for 50 to 60 mile an hour winds in it. And we're going to loop this one right here, and just let it loop. There you go. That's closing in on Amarillo. So the leading edge of the rain is going to hit 335 right there. It's come through Bushland, but this is 335, the new part of the loop. This is Helium Road right here. So rain's going to pick up, and you're going to get that gust, which could be 40, 50, maybe 60 miles per hour in the next minute or two. Then it will hit 27 right there, and in the next 10, 15 minutes at the outside, it will come through downtown Amarillo. The warning goes to just south of Dumas through Masterson, right down 287, and then toward Canyon. And Gabe, if you can pan a little bit further south, we'll also include Canyon, as I mentioned, and eventually Happy in here. Let's go westward to Hereford. Your rain has obviously picked up. The hail indicators have weakened a little bit, which is good news, but the heaviest precipitation and potentially dime-size hail in Hereford that you have been getting is going to loosen up for you, fortunately, in the next 5 minutes here, and then continue moving on toward the east. Dawn, Umbarger, you've got the potential for some pea-size hail as well. Let's come back to the northeast if we can and get to Canyon, Gabe. So this is this is moving pretty quickly now. So in Canyon, let's give it 5 minutes. If you want to look out briefly To the west, you may see this very impressive looking shelf cloud coming your way. North of Canyon, same story. This is 27 right here. This is Hollywood Road right here. Amarillo, obviously, right here. Let's go a little further north, Gabe, toward Dumas. The wind will be a little bit less here, but still 40 to 50 miles per hour. Valley d'Oro, if you're not gotten the wind, you will in a minute or two, and then some rain will pick up. Same story for Masterson. Let's go southeast, Gabe, if we can, toward Memphis and see some heavy thunderstorm activity there. Go to the southeast, and you'll continue on 287. Keep going. You're going right. That's exactly it. Okay, in Memphis, go a little bit further to the east, to the right. There we go. That storm cell there has now moved through Memphis. We've been talking about that on our stream. Esteline is going to be next as that one moves in. It's probably 5 to 10 minutes away from there. It is severe warned, so the potential for some 3/4 inch hail, quarter-size hail is going to come into Esteline in the next, say, 10 to 15 minutes at the outside. In Memphis, where there's heavy rain and hail right now, it is going to loosen up briefly for 5 minutes or so, and then another 10 minutes behind that. This storm cell will come through with the same potential. It maybe looks like it is weakening a little bit. Let's go real broad. If you can widen out and get a broad view of the entire area, all the counties in pink are under a severe thunderstorm watch that is in effect until midnight tonight. The orange counties are currently under a severe thunderstorm warning, so for strong straight line winds. Let's go northeast if we can just to check on this one in Canadian. It's going to move out of our area, and you just saw the orange box pop on. So that has moved past Canadian. It is north of Allison, but developing southward. So from Allison northward, go way close in on that one if you would. And come back, there we go. So now we can see the highways. So that is southeast of Canadian. Allison, you may be clipped in the next couple of minutes, and this is the state line. So that's obviously going to move over into Oklahoma in the next 5-10 minutes there. Let's go back to our center portion of the region and talk about Amarillo again. Just for our television viewers, we'll update you really quickly. This is just a couple moments away. The leading edge of the rain is going to come to Helium Road and the new part of the loop in just a couple of minutes. This little cell that is sitting right there, that's the bend in 335 right there. So airport up here, right here, Buc-ee's right here. So south of Buc-ee's, that's been kind of stationary, so a little bit of runoff problem could be a problem. But again, in Amarillo, we've got a strong gusty wind, which may look like it's weakening a little bit. Do we have the... Oh, we got the Amarillo tower cam? Let's put that up if we can, and then we'll go back to programming just to let you know what's coming. But this is the Amarillo tower cam on the Excel building looking westward. That is the shelf cloud that we've been talking about. And if you were on the stream, it looked real well defined and hard a few minutes ago, indicating it was doing that 50 to 70 mile an hour straight line wind. Kyle, if you want to pan, let's go left or right or both. On that one, and we'll see what it looks like. My point in bringing it up is it looks a little bit more ragged, which is good news in that the strong super 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gust with that becomes a little bit less likely. But what you're going to see with this as it comes across town is strong gusty wind, heavy rain picks up, then some hail will pick up. It should be on the order of dime to maybe, well, P to dime to nickel size hail. And that's going to sweep across town here over the next 30 to say 40 minutes. Obviously west side of town first, east side of town second. So again, severe thunderstorm warning for Amarillo. I'm going to go back to programming on TV. We'll come back if we need to, and probably will in just maybe the next commercial break. We're continuing on the stream, newschannel10.com, Facebook, YouTube as well. Pardon me. YouTube as well. We'll come back on TV as needed, but just wanted to know that heavy thunderstorm is heading our way. Thanks for staying with us here at News Channel 10. Okay, good news. It maybe is weakening a bit. You're my hero for that. Thank you. Okay, had to take a water break for just a minute, but we still have a heavy thunderstorm, but slowing down and weakening now, coming into Amarillo. It's going to look scary. That cloud's going to look scary. There's still going to be a 40 to 50 mile an hour wind gust and some heavy rain as well as that moves on through.
Check with Dave.
Sure, Dave. Yeah, let's check in with Dave. Where you are, you're losing the light there, but you've shown us some great pictures. Where are you? What are you seeing?
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Sit back for a few minutes, get a breather. I'll talk for a couple minutes. Let you rest your voice, get a drink, and everything you do, you talk forever. I've kind of come back on 287. This is Claude that I'm coming into. So I can see the lightning from the storm that you've been tracking out of Bushland into Amarillo, and I'll be running into that on my way back into Amarillo. So we'll just know that eventually you'll know what's going on in that storm as it comes through Amarillo and off to the east. So, Claude is about 25 miles off to the east. But again, I just see the lightning. And one more time, you mentioned that they've probably cleared by now. I'm not sure, but it got a little rough east of Clarendon with some kind of wind damage that knocked over a couple small trees, threw some pretty good-sized branches out over the road. I saw a lot of that kind of debris. So a lot of wind went through there. And they had stopped traffic. I mean, it was really backed up there just on the east side of Clarendon. So it still might be a little slow going through there. But I think with the storms moving south, a little time for them to clear things, look a little bit better. So right now, I'm in between that activity that kind of moved down to Memphis and the activity that's coming into Amarillo. And as Kevin mentioned, it looks like a real classic straight blast, kind of a bowed out echo indicating some outflow wind. It's not anything that's going to produce tornadoes in Amarillo or Canyon or Bushland or points off to the north-south there. This is just a good old heavy thunderstorm. A lot of wind on the leading edge, but eventually it looks like it fills in with some pretty good rain. The hail threat kind of low the last time I looked. Kevin can update that, see if that's looking any better. But really, I think the main problem we'll get out of this storm will be wind on the leading edge. We may get into some power outage situations and transformers get hit by lightning. And then also, we're pretty waterlogged from last night. And some street flooding or low-lying area flooding certainly going to be a possibility. So that's what we're keeping track on coming into Amarillo. Once again, if you're just finding us on the stream, I'm in Claude on my way back to Amarillo after hitting some tornado-warned storms down close to Howardwick and Clarendon. A lot of hail down that way. I got hit by some $half size hail just about 4 miles east of Clarendon, about the same location that we had all that wind. But plenty of rain, plenty of hail there. I'm on my way back from those, and we'll see what I run into as the storms come through Amarillo. Just to know one more time, this is not a tornadic situation. We've had tornado warnings. Those have long since expired. We haven't had any since then. The atmosphere is not really set up for that. And even the warnings that we did have, as far as I know, and Kevin can correct me if I'm wrong, we didn't have any confirmed touchdowns anywhere. I definitely saw some rotations. They weren't really rapid rotations, and they didn't really look like they were imminent tornadoes, but certainly some radar signatures. And I think while we went through back there on April 25th, we really got to pay attention to those radar signatures. And we'll get a tornado warning on those every time because sometimes they're non-events, sometimes they're uneventful, but you can have one that really spins up and is the real deal and we get damaging tornadoes. So that's why we have to treat those seriously. So at the present moment across the area, we got a cluster, a few little isolated areas of severe activity. We don't have any tornado warnings, and I think it'd be unlikely for the rest of the evening. But we're going to keep a watch on that. Severe thunderstorm watch is scheduled to go until midnight. Sometimes, like last night, it kind of cooled off. The storms that have already occurred kind of sap the energy out of the atmosphere, and things start to die down. So we might see that trend here sometime soon, now that we're getting into dark. I'm going to have a real brilliant light show, it looks like, coming back in Amarillo. I'm just about 4 miles back to the west of Clog now on 287. So I'll be coming up to Washburn and then towards Amarillo. So, Kevin, anytime you want to take my picture here and look at a lot of lightning, we'll have that for you. And
we got you, Dave. Thank you. All right, Dave, thanks very much. Okay, this line of thunderstorms is moving obviously into Amarillo right now. There's downtown. I'm kind of concerned about this one on the southeast side of town. In fact, Gabe, yeah, move there. This has been developing and sitting there, just pouring. It is likely causing some runoff problems. Just to get your bearings, there's 27. This is 335 or Hollywood, and this is the bend in that road when it comes back up toward 40. But this cell has been sitting there and strengthening. It's about to be interrupted by the approaching gust front, but that's just going to exacerbate the heavy rain situation. It's not tornadic, but there's going to be some hail in there. There's obviously some neighborhoods there near that bend north of Lake Tanglewood, again south of 40. But just know, please do not go out and try and move around in this, because the runoff problem is going to be significant. And this is the time where we start talking about, going across any roadway that's flooded. It may not look particularly bad, but you don't know what's happened to the road underneath. You don't know how deep that water is. You don't necessarily know how quickly it's moving as well. Expand or widen out a little bit the view, if you would, Gabe, because now what we're looking at is this approaching line that's coming on into town here. The good news is that it is weakening. It is still going to provide some 40 to 60 mile an hour straight line winds as it comes through town. Again, this is the loop on the west side. This is 287 going right through town, and this is the 2740 juncture. So this has been some very, very strong wind. It's going to move now east side of town, move on toward the airport. The Weather Service radars at the airport right there. So anywhere on the east loop, the southeast part of the loop, this strong wind's going to pick up in the next couple of minutes. And I can hear it picking up at the television station right now. We're right about here, and we can hear the roof rattling a little bit as the wind comes through. So if you're east of 287, I can confirm that you're going to get a pretty strong gust of wind. Let's move southward if we can to the increasing core that's around Canyon. So this is 60 going out of town right there. Umbarger obviously getting some heavy rain, but in Canyon and then north. This is where the football stadium is right here, where the highway breaks off 60. So some heavy, heavy rain is going to pick up in that area, and likely some hail in the next couple of minutes. Our storm cell here is developing southward toward Lake Tanglewood and the north side of Paladuro Canyon too. This may be a real problem in that what we're maybe setting up for is a cell merger. Sure, might as well. We're going to take it right in progress and go on TV. I'll watch and just greet our viewers there. Okay, jumping in on TV coverage on the break, because we want to give you just an update here. We've been talking about this particular storm cell. Just to get your bearings, this is Hollywood 335 right there. That is the junction between Hollywood and 27. This thunderstorm cell has been sitting, but as you can see now, it's developing southward toward Lake Tanglewood and the northern edge of Paladuro Canyon. Widen out and move just to the southwest a little bit, if you would, Gabe. That is about to meet this approaching core that is up near and on just the north side of Canyon. This is where the highways split right here, the football stadium right here. This is 87 going into Canyon, and that's 60 right here. As the outflow of these two hit and merge, I'm afraid that may cause an additional updraft, which will be very chaotic winds. There could be some swirling type of winds. I don't necessarily know that it's going to turn tornadic, but it's going to be very, very chaotic, very, very windy, and then heavy rain and hail will pick up as well. So if you're east of 287, south of 335, be prepared for very chaotic winds. Yes, sir?
I'm hearing about hail reports coming out of Tanglewood.
Okay, so just what we were talking about, that cell has increased, and there are hail reports. No sizes coming from Tanglewood right now, but easily some golf ball size hail is possible with that. And that would eventually move toward Paladuro Canyon, areas westward back toward 27. Let's expand the view a little further south toward Happy if we can. Go a little further. Okay, we got a new bow on this one as well. Not tornadic. Zoom in on Happy if you can, just a little bit. Here's the bow right here. What this is indicating is that some strong winds behind the leading edge are pushing out ahead, making that sort of bow echo, we call it. That is just a mile or two west of Happy. There's probably an ugly looking shelf cloud on that. The rain's going to pick up behind that strong gust of wind, but know in Happy that is coming toward you in the next minute or two. So please don't go out and try and pull the car in the garage now. It's going to come up in just the next couple of minutes. Let's expand the view if we can, Gabe, get a broader look at this entire line, and then we'll go back to programming on TV, but mention that we have our streams going on all of our platforms. So if you could widen out the view, zoom out a little bit, Gabe, and we'll just give you an idea. This whole line is going right across 287 and 27. So anywhere east of there, that heavy rain, that hail potential is going to move through your area. We're streaming, we're continuing to do that, and we'll join you back here on TV, certainly if we get any kind of tornado warning. So thanks for staying with us here at News Channel 10. Okay, let's zoom in on the Canyon Tanglewood thing here if we can. That's the area of most concern. So thanks for staying with us on the stream. Something that can happen, that cell is real close to the radar. It's just on the north side. The radar is at the airport, just on the north side of Interstate 40, which is that yellow line there. And sometimes you can get a little bit of enhancements because it's so close. But I am confident on the northern side of Canyon and the Canyon and Lake Tanglewood area that some very, very heavy rain is in there. That may be showing some signs of trying to weaken a little bit, but I'm also further concerned about the intersection of those two storms. Pan down a little bit, if you would. There you go, right there. So south and southwest of where it says Lake Tanglewood, you see what's coming from the west on the north side of Canyon. So I already see a couple of boundaries intersecting, so I think what we're going to probably see is some strengthening of those briefly, which could create some very strong gusty winds anywhere west of Paladuro Canyon. You see 217 there marked. That's the road into the canyon from Canyon. I think we're going to get some enhancement there in the next couple of minutes. But heavy rain, some hail continuing. Let's go to downtown Amarillo, see what we can see. Maybe we can even... Pea-sized hail and canyon, so that verifies what we're talking about there. That's probably on the north side, but anywhere around that. And right on 60, I think, and that's unfortunately right where we had the tornado a couple of weeks ago. There's very heavy rain here, but that's going to keep propagating east toward the Happy State Bank Stadium and then anywhere east of 27. Let's expand the view, widen out a little bit if we can, and check on Amarillo. So rain picking up in downtown right now, so anywhere east of town, you're going to pick up. Do we have the downtown tower cam? Let's take that and see. Let's just pan around. And when we can see the XL building on the roof, we usually get a pretty good indication. We might need to focus that too. Pause for just a second and do this for me. Go the other way on the minus. Minus that way. Oh, there it is. It's locking in. Oh, you had it. Okay. And rain's picking up here at the TV station. We're still out of focus there. Let's come plus. There it is. And keep going to the left. And we'll pick up the top of the XL building. Might be able to get an indication of the intensity of the rain here. Yeah, tilt down a little bit. So that's going to pick up. It's not too bad. Yeah, we've seen the visibility much less than that, which is good because I do think the evidence on the radar was showing that this was weakening a little bit as it came through. So no tornado warnings. We do have a severe thunderstorm watch that will remain in effect at this point until midnight tonight. Strong thunderstorms moving across the Amarillo area right now. Principal threat is going to be a minimum of pea-size hail, maybe a couple of dime-size or nickel-size hailstones, although I think for the Amarillo metro area, if we can call it, that threat has diminished a little bit. Now in Canyon, you're going to have another 5 to 10 minutes at least of potential hail, especially the north side of town. And obviously a pretty good thunder and lightning show going on. So travel discouraged, clearly. Doppler Dave was in Clarendon. He showed us some great pictures of that storm that was at one time tornado warned, but that one has now weakened and gone through Memphis. As I check radar, that has moved toward, it's weakened as it's come through Memphis, might make it to Childress, and we'll go check radar there in just a couple of minutes. But Let's come back to Max if we can. Or if you want, just for something different, we can take the radar screen and show the GR product, just for something different to look at. Yeah.
Dime-sized Hill and Canyon.
Yep, dime-sized Hail Canyon, thank you. If you want to zoom in on that and go to Memphis and Childress, we can kind of get a trend on that. Good news for the second storm that was approaching Memphis, that one is weakening. That's the northernmost of the two. As is, well, now it's got that new image right there. See, Estillene. 287 is that sort of orange line in between Estillene, and it weakened a little bit, but now we've got a new hail core. So anybody you know in Estillene, that is going to be a minimum of nickel-size hail there. You can see on the trend that it is moving southeastward, so that puts Childress into line for that storm next. The yellow box is a severe thunderstorm warning. The Weather Service kind of trims that because it's a little bit more compact, but in addition to that hail, there would be some oh, and so they've extended the warning. It goes right to Childress. Good, thank you for that. So Childress, you're now under a severe thunderstorm warning. It's still a good 20 minutes, maybe even closer to 30 minutes away from Childress, but that new thunderstorm warning does include Childress. Let's go Canyon.
Reports a golf ball and larger 5 minutes ago near Tanglewood.
Tanglewood, yep, those are those two cells that we've been talking about.
That's right.
And there's a bunch of boundaries in there. We talk about boundaries. See, yeah, if you pause that at the end there, that bluish purple line south of Tanglewood, that's a boundary. That's an outflow boundary, and that's what we were talking about that creates these shelf clouds, but it also creates lift. It cuts underneath the warm, humid air that we've been feeling today and makes it start to rise, and that's what turns it into a cloud and eventually raindrops and potentially some hail as well. Just to the west of that, around Canyon, we've had obviously some very, very heavy rain go through there on the north side of town, and even probably in downtown now. There is some maybe some small hail. I'm going to be selfish for just a moment on the stream in that my rain gauge is underneath that. So I'm betting that I'm going to win the night tonight, even though heavy rain's picking up for Dave's gauge and probably here at the TV station in the next couple of minutes, and for Sheldon as well. New hail core just west of Tulia. Again, as that longer line moves eastward, it's creating the shelf cloud, the gust front that's creating that lift. And so if you can continue to rise those or raise those parcels of air, they'll start to rain and they'll eventually start to hail as well. Let's check on Estillene as well. We saw a little uptick in the hail core. You can go right down in on it. Thank you. Still to the northwest of Childress, but now we've got two solid frames of hail. It may not all be reaching the ground just yet, but that kind of bright to dark purple is an indication that it is producing hail, which may start falling out here in the next couple of minutes in Estillene and areas to the northeast and east of town. We can hear the wind whistling through the tower cam here. Got a whole crew in studio helping us bring you these pictures on the stream. We're watching, of course, for any tornadic activity as well, which would push us back on TV. How about north of Wheeler, just to see that one cell that's going across the border? We talked about that a short time ago. That has now moved past Canadian, so if anybody watching in Canadian, you're in the clear. That's going to shoot just to the east of Wheeler. And that solid middle line, or that white line that goes through Sweetwater, that's the Texas-Oklahoma border. So that'll be across the border here in the next 5 to 10 minutes. And if you want to take your phone outside, you might get some good wind pictures for later. Because the gust front has obviously gone past the TV station now, and we can hear the wind sort of whistling through the tower. So once again, we're here streaming News Channel 10 and watching some strong thunderstorms, similar to what we had last night. A little different orientation, a little different movement, but the principal threat now is going to move away from tornadic activity, which is good, and persist with some severe thunderstorm type activity. And a severe thunderstorm is defined by one or both 1-inch hail or 60-mile-an-hour straight line winds. And that's obviously coming through Amarillo right now. So we'll stick with you on it for a little while, but the heavy rain threat's going to continue to exist. And in Amarillo, for this heavy rain, we've probably got at least another 10 to 15 minutes, and then a little bit more moderate rain will continue, because you can see that goes past Vega. Thank you very much. Lindsay just brought me some water. She is my friend. Let's go back to the Memphis Childress storm, because that's still showing some signs of some hail and that purple area. I'm going to cool off my throat for a minute. So the yellow box is the severe thunderstorm warning, and you can see that was extended to include Childress. So you've still got another 20 minutes easily. If you've ever driven 287, you know there's not much there. But along and north of the highway, that little hail core is going to go on through. So we're continuing to watch the thunderstorms roll on through. Doppler Dave's on his way back from Clarendon.
So we're getting a report that the local channels on Dish Network may be gone. So if that's affecting you, go to air or stream it.
Okay. What Kyle is saying is we're getting maybe some Dish Network problems. Sometimes those Dish Network, those Dish things can be attenuated by the rain. The rain attenuates or fades the signal. So if you'd been watching through one of those platforms, you can get us on the streaming, obviously. Tell your friends about that. We're on newschannel10.com and Facebook and YouTube as well. Dave looks like he's getting...
Hey, all right, I'm at that's the Big Texan. Coming back, coming west on I-40. I've definitely hit that gust front. Looks like winds are probably gusts over 30, 35. Not real horrible, but just now I can see the visibility dropping off now. Coming up on Eastern, looking at the flags at the Big Texan there, looking around pretty good. Coming up on the heavy rain now at Eastern Street, and I can just see this wall of water ahead of me. So I'll just kind of drive into that. A lot of lightning. I think when I was off to the east of Amarillo, I may have seen a transformer hit out in rural areas. So if something like that happens in the city, we could have power outage. Right now it looks pretty lit up. Rain is picking up now as I approach Grand Street. So that's mainly what we're dealing with. Just what you said, Kevin. Good leading edge blast wind, followed up by pretty good rain and a ton of lightning. I haven't hit any hail yet. I've seen some of our chasers report some D-side hail here and there. But we may or may not hit that on I-40 as I get a little further back into town. And right now I'm at the Eastern Street I-40 interchange, or intersection, that is, as rain starts to pick up. I wanted to point out to folks that we don't have the structure for tornadoes or anything like that. I can tell you the precip and the lightning activity really big. I see that on my screen there. We get a lightning flash every couple of seconds. A little low in the rain, which is kind of interesting, but here we go, picking up again. So now I'll be coming up a little closer to Grand Street. The wind has picked up a little bit, but still I think we're keeping that around the 35 mile per hour gust range. Okay, I think we're getting into the core of the rain now. It's starting to really pick up. Not like a car wash here with the rain and the wind at the same time. But no lowering, no wall clouds, certainly no tornadoes. It's going to be wind, rain, and maybe some east-side hail, and I haven't even hit that yet, Kevin. So now this is Grand. One thing we may have to watch out for on I-40 is these underpasses. So it hasn't been raining all that long, but here's the Grand Street underpass. I'm going under it right now with minimal water buildup, but it doesn't take much for those underpasses to fill with water. Places like Washington Street and getting over Booker Bell, those are our notorious flood zones. Get on my wipers because it is really coming down now. So for Amarillo, a big, heavy thunderstorm. But so far I'm just getting rain, Kevin. Are you getting any reports of hail anywhere?
We have had a few, Dave. It's been mostly wind reports between 60 and in some spots 70 miles per hour. I think our eastward motion has not necessarily slowed a little bit, but our line is not showing quite the same velocities. I think the biggest area of concern right now is south of Lake Tanglewood and near and east of Canyon, particularly on the road in between Canyon and the Canyon, the entrance to Paladuro Canyon. We've had a cell merger there. There was a couple of boundaries, and the two cells have merged, and there is really going to be creating some intense rainfall for some time that would easily cause some runoff problems. As we say that, yeah, let's go back over to radar scope on there if we can. It's going to be under here, that. Yeah, let's put on dual pane and zoom down on that because we do have a little bit of a hook there, right there.
Kevin, we also have a report about heated dime-sized hail reported on 10th and Grand, and then a new severe
Okay,
thunder warning.
thank you, Gabe. P to dime-sized hail reported at 10th and Grand. New thunderstorm warning, Gray, Donnelly, Armstrong, Carson County. You can close that. I want to go back up a little bit. Oh, we had a really interesting rainfall report, Dave, if you're still there. Just over half an inch of rain, 0.55 inches of rain in 8 minutes at the West Texas Mesonet site in Canyon. So we've been obviously talking about the heavy rain in and around Canyon, especially from downtown northward to Happy State Bank football stadium and then areas to the east. But half an inch of rain in 8 minutes is a stunning, stunning amount of rain.
You just canceled another warning, Kevin?
Okay, thanks.
Here, you want to sit here?
Nope. I'm interested in that little hook. I mean, it's dark. We're not going to see anything unless somebody, well, yeah, that's it.
You want to go back to Dave here?
No, let's stay on this for a minute. We're watching some velocity couplets, or a velocity couplet rather, and a little bit of a notch and an inflow notch where some boundaries have met south of Lake Tanglewood or south side of Lake Tanglewood and right near the entrance to Paladuro Canyon. So there's obviously not much there other than the entrance, but as you get around the canyon, there's a number of people who might be watching there. I don't think this is going to turn into a large tornadic situation, but on the leading edge of these things, or when boundaries collide like this, you can get a little spin-up situation. Over. Sure, and I'll actually pause it. Let me get in there for just a second, Gabe. Okay. I'm going to pause this and spend a minute on it, what we're talking about. No, that is new, isn't it? Yeah. Well, that's good news. We don't have as much of a notch right there. But what we're talking about is this area right here that is, again, the entrance to Paladuro Canyon. That does not look as threatening. And we said that that just might last a minute or two with regard to any kind of mischief with regard to rotations. But it was a boundary collision. Those can create some chaos. Those can create little land spouts sometimes, little areas of rotation. But the primary and the new threat is going to be extremely heavy rain from the entrance to Paladuro Canyon along 217 rather, and then areas to the north in and around Lake Tanglewood. I'm going to slow this down just a little bit and save it. So again, good news for the city of Canyon, but let's move, let's move a little further south and check on Tulia and Happy. Moderate to heavy rain in Happy, probably less in the way of large hail. Good news for Tulia, the rain is coming your way, but I think we're less likely to get any large hail, some pea-sized hailstones and some strong 40 to 50 mile an hour winds possible for Tulia as this line sort of moves on through the central portion of the Panhandle. Let's check on Amarillo right now. The gust front has obviously moved through, so let's see, Dave had gotten to the big Texan, right? So he has passed under the gust front. I think he mentioned that. But now the gust front and the leading edge will go to Washburn, eventually Claude, Conway, Panhandle. You're going to get some strong gusty winds as well.
Getting reports of
Right
power
now,
lines going down in Canyon.
power lines down in Canyon. Okay, so that verifies our 60 mile an hour wind gusts. I think that we're not going to need to be in continuous mode for the 10 o'clock news. Let's start me off the top. I'll go a little bit long, and then you can do some news, and maybe at the end of the block, let's do it before the commercial and then after the commercial. How about that?
Yeah, no, I got it.
Okay, cool. I'm talking with Allie, who is our 10 o'clock producer. So stick with us and turn on the TV if you don't have it on in the next 15 minutes, and we'll have News Channel 10 at 10 coming up for you with obviously plenty of radar updates. Good news for tomorrow is the forecast is a little bit quieter. The rain chance is definitely not zero, but it's more in line of this 10% chance, 20% chance of some afternoon showers and thunderstorms. I think we'll likely see some cloud cover across a good portion of the region for much of the morning hours, which will kind of help keep the atmosphere a little bit more stable. But I've moved the radar over to Allison. That's just heavy rain and some hail that's going to move out within the next, say, 10 to 15 minutes, and that will be over into Oklahoma. Let's go to the west, where you had that gust front come through. Right now, from Adrian and Vega, it's just moderate rain. It's not going to be threatening. There'll be some brief swirly winds, but as far as the severe threat, that has diminished greatly for you. Same story in Hereford, same story in Dimmitt, and then a line that's gone through Hart. If your rain has not let up, it will in just the next minute or two. So the next target for that would be Claytonville and Plainview. Just a brief, it's a thin little line. It would be brief 5 minutes of heavy downpour, brief gusty wind, nothing too heavy there. Overall, I think we're kind of starting to see this weaken, which is good news. Oh, let's check on our Childress storm. Came through and just north of Esteline. It is weakening a little bit as well, so I think something may get to Childress, but I don't think you're certainly at this moment going to get the brunt of that storm. We'll watch it, see if any kind of an inflow notch develops and any kind of rotation develops as well.
We got Dave up there.
Do we? Let's go to Dave, because I'm going to take a drink of water and rest my voice for a minute. Dave, give us a report, sir.
But that's the latest here from the metro area. Good job keeping everybody informed. And like Kevin says, coming up here in just a few minutes, he'll be on the 10 o'clock news. And we'll have all the latest information. And hopefully we have a down day tomorrow, and it's not as bad. Kevin, back to you.
Hey, Dave, thanks very much for yeoman's work. Driving, talking, shooting at the same time. We sure appreciate that, especially the great pictures you showed us a little earlier from the Clarendon area. That was a cell that was once tornado warned. The good news right now is we have no tornado warnings currently in effect. I really don't see any indication of any tornadic activity. There could be some swirly winds in spots as this continues to move eastward, but I do think that we've likely peaked in intensity. I don't expect these to intensify anymore. They will maintain themselves for a little while. So that 40 to 60 mile an hour straight line wind threat is certainly there. The hail threat is certainly there as well. But as we move eastward, we're going to talk about places like Panhandle. Your rain will pick up. You'll get a brief gust of wind. Claude, you'll have the same thing. These are both within the next 30 minutes or so. Eventually on towards Silverton, places like that. Got some thunder here at the TV station, obviously, and Dave is signing off, which is good. I'm going to do a couple of things to our communications. So what we're waiting on now is the news. We're going to do an update on News Channel 10 coming up here in about 10 minutes and give an update to everybody watching at home on the radar potential, the damage potential, the wind potential, the hail potential. These thunderstorms will go for several more hours and likely make it across the rest of the eastern half of the Panhandle in some form. But again, I think the strengthening potential is somewhat weakened. If you want to put that GR back on and go down to the southern end of the line, let's check on Plainview. We often watch the very bottom end of the line because that's not competing as much for moisture. It's got some strong inflow opportunity, so it's got plenty of moisture to work with. It's coming into Tulia right now. I think that has weakened with regard to the hail indicators there, though. So some heavy rain, maybe some pea-size hail. But you can see the line extends now from Hart southward toward Olton and Crest. So that's going to close in on Plainview. This will be a very quick blast of wind if it doesn't strengthen for Plainview. It's still 10 to 15 minutes further out. Yeah, let's drill down on Canyon and the Canyon and Lake Tanglewood and loop that and kind of see what we're looking at here. You can see the boundaries coming in and sort of merging, and that's where we got the reports of some hail there and the very heavy rain. The good news is now the cooler air is taking over, and so these thunderstorms are weakening a little bit. That does mean heavy rain. And for the rest of the night, we'll bring up the point that we always bring up in heavy rain is please, please, please never go across any roadway that has water rushing across it. You don't necessarily know how deep it is. You don't know what it has done to the roadway beneath it. And so that can obviously cause big, big problems. So a new little cell there right over Paladuro Canyon, though, where we see the purple, Kyle. That's obviously over the canyon as opposed to over people. But the canyon, maybe even the amphitheater, that, yeah, probably close there, maybe just south of there, but we're likely putting some hail down there as well. But that little type of activity where something increases in intensity briefly and then weakens is probably going to continue. That little cell's coming out on the gust front. If you've been with us for any time, you saw the, there's a new tornado, severe thunderstorm warning too. The gust front creates the lift that starts those new thunderstorm cells, and I think we'll see those continuing. For Amarillo, the heaviest for downtown and the west side of town is now done. So moderate rain will continue, maybe some swirly winds, but if you are west of 27, I think, or 287, I think we can say that you are not in the clear from rain, but in the clear from the threat of the stronger winds and the larger hail. And so anything east of 27, east of 287, yeah, you're going to have some heavier downpours, some brief gusty winds, things like that. So that's going to include Panhandle and Claude, eventually White Deer, Borger. Yep. Yeah, let's see. Let me get some information on that new severe thunderstorm warning. Give me just a second. Yeah, you can put Max on. Why not? Let's put that on the screen. And I'm going to drill down. We got a new severe thunderstorm warning, and we'll just go ahead since we're waiting on the news here and put that on the screen. That's a severe thunderstorm warning until 10:45 that includes Armstrong, Carson, Donnelly, Gray counties. And the severe thunderstorm watch obviously goes until midnight tonight. So that's the new warning. Panhandle again included, Groom included. You've already had your scare with a tornado warning that came just to the north and east of town, but you're going to have another round of thunderstorm activity, possibly severe. But again, that tornado threat is really diminishing now. So we're about 5 minutes away from the newscast and continuing just to watch these heavy raining thunderstorms. A lot of the ground now, especially, this may be a new point here, but along and south of Interstate 40, along and either side, but especially east of 27, we had that heavy rain from those multiple thunderstorm cells yesterday afternoon and through the evening hours. And guess what? That ground is still saturated. So once this new batch of rain comes on through, it is hitting saturated or close to saturated ground. And so the runoff there is going to be tremendous. And that means it all runs into the low spots. It goes across the roadways, it goes into the playa lakes. Some of those could start to come out of their banks, things like that. So again, we're obviously getting late and hopefully nobody has anywhere to go late night or overnight, but even into the morning hours, this runoff can continue to be a problem. So once you head out for the day, that is certainly something that you want to be aware of. Here's our cell approaching Childress. Good news there. That is weakening, and thank you. That is weakening, and so I think we're going to lose our threat from severe weather for Childress, which is obviously a welcome thing. Okay, I'm going to be quiet for a minute and prepare for the newscast, and we hope you'll join us there. We'll stay on the stream through the newscast if we can and let you watch radar. But again, News Channel 10 coming up in just a couple of minutes. Well, good evening. Another night of severe weather and heavy raining thunderstorms. Strong gusty winds as well across a good portion of the Panhandle. Officially, we still are under a severe thunderstorm watch. Severe thunderstorm watch until midnight. West of Amarillo, west of Dumas, Hereford westward, Tulia, almost Tulia westward. Those counties have not been officially cleared, but the severe weather threat has really diminished because our primary line of showers and thunderstorms continues now to move across the 27 corridor, 287 corridor, and so the primary threat for strong gusty winds and hail is decreasing a little bit, but it still remains to get some dime, maybe a couple of nickel-sized hailstones, good amount of pea-sized hailstones, and some wind gusts between 40 and 60 miles per hour. So all of this line, which has now primarily come through most of Amarillo, is going to head toward Groom on Interstate 40, Clarendon, Goodnight, places like that, and then down toward Matador, Silverton, Kittiquay, Turkey, all those places with the potential for some strong gusty winds, some brief little pockets of some small hail, talking pea-sized hail, will continue for a couple of more hours. I'm going to get you a closer look at all of these radar areas, including the one just moving over into Oklahoma, and then talk about what's coming up later on tonight and tomorrow, which will be a quieter day after we get some news from Lindsay. Okay, good news. We are starting to wind down a little bit. Still some threats remain, some brief, strong, gusty winds and some small hail in some spots. We're going to take a closer look at the entire line here in just a second, but flooding threat is going to be a problem in many areas for several more hours. In fact, flood advisory issued by the Weather Service for areas around Canyon, the city of Canyon, Lake Tanglewood southward, and then Palo Duro Canyon as well. So the runoff there is going to be pretty intense. This whole thing is going to continue to move from west to east as we go on through the late night, the overnight hours. Well, it had come through Allison and just to the east of Kelton is now moving across the Texas-Oklahoma border. So we're pretty much done with that. We had a strong cell come just north of Esteline. It is weakening as it comes through Childress here in the next couple of minutes. If you're not getting rain, you will. But the severe thunderstorm warning was just dropped moments ago for that cell. It will move past Childress and continue to weaken. We've got a line from near Plainview southward to Hale Center. Here's 27 right here. So Plainview, if your rain is not picked up, it will in minutes. It will not likely be severe in the classic sense of 60-mile-an-hour winds or hail, but a brief blast that'll last 10 minutes or so of heavier rain. Same story for Hale Center in just the next couple of minutes. Our potential flood area again is right in here. The rain has loosened up, but the runoff will continue. So the leading edge of this is going to pick up in Claude in the next couple of minutes. There could still be some small hail there. There is still a severe thunderstorm warning officially right here in the orange areas, but again, this is weakening a little bit. There could be some mischief with regard to swirly winds on the leading edge of this as it goes through Claude, anywhere along 287 in between Claude and Clarendon, westward from there. So again, swirly gusty winds, some small to medium-sized hail possible. That would move on toward Bryce, closing into and moving through Lake McKenzie right now. In Amarillo proper, it's just light rain left. East of town, we've got the leading edge of this is going to be a brief gust of wind that goes through Fritch and Borger in the next 10 to 15 minutes. Same story in Panhandle, and then southward to areas in between Amarillo and Groom, and again for Claude. So again, a brief gust of wind here, some small hail, and some heavy rain will again create some some runoff problems. Let's go to the forecast model and talk about some good news. This is the cluster that we just looked at. It's going to move eastward and continue to slowly weaken. I think it's going to actually go a little faster than what the timestamp shows here. This is probably the midnight position right here, and then by 2 a.m. it should be done. Will be much quieter for tomorrow. We're going to talk about cloudy skies to start for much of the region, then clearing through midday. The rain chance in the afternoon is not zero, but it's really only 10 to 20%. So the Storm Prediction Center right now has covered the entire region in the lighter green, but not part of the severe weather scale. So we're not expecting severe storms tomorrow, but we'll find maybe 1 or 2, 3 or 4 in the afternoon in a couple of spots that could have some brief gusty winds, but again, not looking for severe weather. So let's call that a 20% chance for a few scattered showers and thunderstorms tomorrow. High temperature with a north breeze of 75, closer to 80 degrees on Wednesday with a 40% rain chance. My feeling right now is that that rain chance for Wednesday may go up. We'll keep you posted on that. 20% rain chance, only 68 on Thursday. Then temperatures climb with a 10 to 20% chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms through the weekend. That's a couple of days out, and in this crazy unsettled overall pattern, those rain chances may increase. And in fact, I think they might have a chance to as we go through the weekend and early next week. Of course, several days away, and we will keep you posted on that. Maya? Okay, if you're still with us on the stream, thanks very much for joining us. If you've been with us on TV for the newscast, you know that these storms are starting to weaken, and that will be a trend that will continue for the next couple of hours. There could still be some brief gusty winds. There could still be a little bit of small hail in some spots, but let's go ahead and drill down on the radar. For Amarillo, we're in the clear for the severe weather threat. In fact, Potter and Randall counties have been cleared from the severe thunderstorm warning, so there's good news there. But this line of storms is going to continue on toward Borger and White Deer. It has gotten into Panhandle right now, so your rain's going to pick up in a minute or two. But again, some brief pockets of small hail, a little bit of gusty wind activity will don't expect anything more than that. In Claude, the rain is going to last for another 10 to 15 minutes, the brief heavier downpours, but then that will just be moderate rain continuing. Now we get a little further, the atmosphere is just still a little bit less, or a little bit more unstable, creating some brief gusty winds, but you can watch the trend on here. The amount of red and orange is decreasing a little bit, but again, Clarendon, eventually Memphis, Silverton, Turkey, Kittiquay, you'll get some brief moderate rain there. Even a brief downpour, given the rain yesterday, will continue to cause some runoff problems. So if you don't have to travel overnight, that would be certainly a great idea. We're weakening as it's gone through Tulia, Lockney. You may pick up some brief rain here in a couple of minutes. We're clear in Plainview. Everything is generally weakening, and that trend is going to continue. Forecast for tomorrow, cloudy skies in the morning, some clearing afternoon, 10 to 20% chance of a few isolated showers or thunderstorms. But the Storm Prediction Center has us in just an area of general thunderstorm activity, not in any severe weather threat for the day coming up on Tuesday. Rain chances, some thunderstorm chances will go back up on Wednesday. And of course, we'll be here to keep you posted. We thank you for staying with us here through the night at News Channel 10. Take care.